Welcome to our 8th episode of Shock Talk. We have some guests in the house today. Ian and Brittany from Will Every Weekend. They're gonna they got a lot of experience with our shocks and operate their own business. So we felt that it would be a good idea to bring them in and have a good conversation with them.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah,
Welcome in, guys. Glad to have you.
Cool.
So, Ian, give us a little bit of info on what you do and how you started and where you're headed.
Wait, I want to hear this story about how you guys met first.
Well, that was that was like midnight at the Lazy Lizard.
Yeah.
I have just a pair of shorts on with flip-flops.
Just glistening.
Right. It was warm.
Yeah.
It was warm. Looked like a stuck board.
Yeah. No, is it some ORW event or
it's a customer appreciation
appreciation event?
Four-wheel parts event.
Yeah.
That's
Four-wheel
right.
parts.
Yeah,
Four-wheel
yeah,
parts.
they asked us to come out for it.
Yeah.
in the desert.
Yep.
Yeah, that was like, what, 7 years ago, 8 years
Yeah.
ago?
I think so.
Think so.
Yeah, 7, 8 years
I
ago.
don't even think we had a business then.
No, you didn't.
And there was no looking back after that.
You were,
That's right.
Was it really at the Lazy Lizard?
no, it wasn't.
No.
No, okay.
You're starting to make us believe it, right?
So, I set up a booth out there. It's when we our first production runs of 8112. So I had the wheel stands on the Tacoma out there, and these guys roamed up with another couple, and we're asking about shocks for a welded together Tacoma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. First gen Tacoma with very few Toyota parts
Yeah,
on it.
Yeah.
Just the way to build Toyotas.
That's the original truck, right?
Yeah.
Yes, so the first iteration of that truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one we still see
which now I
videos of.
I
Yeah.
guess from what I see is sold.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, guy's
It
picking
is.
it up, and
I know.
he's
It's
going to
sad.
drive it back to Utah.
the end of an
A
era.
lot of history on that truck.
I
I
know.
know.
He's
Lot
been
of-
asking to buy it for like 4 years, so I'm trying to fix it up
It's
for
going
him.
to a good home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll use it.
I remember
Feel
following
comfortable.
you to Overland Expo West
Yeah.
many years ago, and we only had 173 freeway stops.
And I can vouch for that because he kept calling me every
Yeah.
time you guys pulled over. Yeah.
I remember that, and I was trying to cut like the fridge cover off, and I was like,
Yeah,
"You think
yeah,
I
yeah.
should put the shiny side towards the fuel pump, or do I want it away from it so it reflects?"
Yeah, that was great. That was a good time.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
a good
awesome.
time. It only took us 44 hours to get to
Flagstaff.
Flagstaff.
Yeah, that was good. And then at the booth, how many people came up and were like, "I saw you guys driving up here.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was crazy."
That was
Yeah.
the beginning of the posting.
So that's when I realized he did it on purpose.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
I'm a heavy set guy, in case anyone's not noticed. And I was like getting in and out of this lifted Jeep on 37s, and I'm like, this guy stops one more time, and I'm gonna lay him out on the side of the road.
It was like really hot
And,
too.
Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
it's super hot. And this guy's laying down on the side of the freeway, 1 foot in traffic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when is this going to be over? And then come to find out he did it because of all the viewers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got tons of
that's it.
views.
Yeah.
Everyone was coming up to our booth saying, hey, man, that was so fun to watch you guys break down 730 times.
Drama brings them in, right?
Yep.
that was
People
fun.
love it. You think at a certain point I'd stop building trucks after
Oh,
midnight, but
It's so crazy because we had the JL there.
Your favorite car?
Yeah.
Yeah, the JL was there with 8100s, 8100 bypass on it. We had Udo's BMW motorcycle. His
that thing's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had, and like I ended up sitting in the JL for a little bit with the AC on because nobody was even by it. Like everyone was by
The
the
Toyota,
first gen
yeah.
Tacoma.
Yeah.
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 Like it like was a line of people, and it was like just people asking questions about it because it was something different, you know.
Yeah.
It was
It's a rock crawler overland car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
High
the
speed
first.
rock crawler overland.
Yeah,
truck.
it's like,
Yeah.
That's right.
Downhill.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was like you finally clinched what everybody's been trying to do is like a dual purpose rig.
right.
Like I can go
Right.
fast, I can crawl, I can camp, I can be broken down on the side of the freeway and have food and a tent.
It's true. Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like that dual purpose vehicle that everyone's been trying to get after. You like accomplish it
So did that lifestyle?
after 5 different.
5 is
Tries.
a
I know.
generously low number, but
Did
I appreciate
that vehicle generate the thoughts of the business that you guys built?
Kinda.
Kind of.
I don't know. I was like fixing other shop stuff in our driveway.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Stuff that other people couldn't get right. You were taking that
Yeah.
business, right?
Yeah. So like my 10-second life stories, I tested out of high school to go to EMT school, and then I wanted to be a firefighter, and then I couldn't be a firefighter because it was the recession, so I joined the Army because I needed that on my resume. I was a combat medic with a light infantry company. I broke my back in 4 places overseas, just doing something dumb. And then when I got back, I was like, oh, I'm going to get back into off-roading. And I realized that I literally can't off-road without a good suspension.
Right.
Like, I can't walk afterwards if it's all jacked up and bouncing around. So, like, for me, all this stuff is super personal. Because it's without good suspension, it affects our whole lifestyle. So, it's...
And at what point did you meet Brittany?
Oh, while I was in the Army. Yeah. Yeah. We've been together 8 years.
9 years.
9-ish.
The wife
you
always
guys,
knows.
so you guys were only together like a year when I met you guys.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
we
crazy.
were very new.
That's crazy.
And I had no experience in the off-road world or building vehicles at all before that. So it was totally new, but luckily I liked it.
Well, yeah, now you
And-
build better than most shops. You personally.
Yeah. I've all of our projects we do together, which is kind of our thing, and I like that.
So you do all you weld,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
do wiring, you install your own
Yeah.
lockers, you
That's
get
right.
power steering in the Samurai.
Put my own power steering in the Samurai.
And that was
change
from a
the
Prius,
gears.
right?
A Prius power steering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It made a huge difference. It's still really hard to steer, but
It is.
without
It's a
it, I
workout.
would not be able to crawl
Right.
it anymore.
Oh, no.
It's done
And
the
the
Rubicon.
And the manual steering does that like death wheel thing where if you hit a rock too hard, the steering wheel just goes whoosh, 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 whoosh.
It just spins around.
Wrist breaker.
And if your
Really
thumbs
great,
are in
yeah.
there, they're
Yeah.
No
Count
thumbs. You
the
just
Yeah.
no longer can grab things.
Same thing with
fingers.
same thing with our Unimog. Like you
Yeah.
steer that thing and it goes back to center.
Yeah.
You just reach for the sky, man.
Just
Yeah.
let it go back
Yeah.
to center.
Yeah. So the electric power steering was huge.
Yeah. Yeah. We
But-
did that, put lower gears in the transfer case, and then test drove it on the Rubicon. So,
Yeah.
That's great.
We drove it down our road.
well, our road's pretty bad. So, it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
So-
your road reminds me of most roads that are out in the desert.
So how does your business, how does BILSTEIN fit in with Wheel Every Weekend as far as your business model? Like what you do, what your customers' expectations are, how do you believe in BILSTEIN as a brand that you can confidently sell, install, rebuild our stuff? And because I've done business for a lot of years, and the last thing you want is to marry a customer, right? You don't want to build this guy's car 4 times because he doesn't like the way it drives, rides, feels. So how has BILSTEIN fit in that niche for you?
Let's see. We do a lot of, I'd say our primary product is probably 8112s right now, but the 6100s are starting to pick up. Like on our personal truck, we have the 8112 system on it. And that truck honestly sells a lot of 8112s because it's, especially when I had like a plumber shell on it and chrome bumpers and everything. And then I'd go out to the desert and like pass a side-by-side in the whoops. People just like freak out.
Yeah.
They've never seen it before. They're completely blown away. So
And you drive it like it's a side-by-side, so that helps.
pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, and those shocks have 40,000 miles on them. The tattletales say they've been above 300 degrees at least once. And original seals, everything original on them still. No leaks. So it's pretty compelling because if I can't break them, then
No one can.
Yeah,
then
we-
they aren't
we've
broken.
noticed that.
Yeah.
And like even I do a lot of rebuilds during the week as well. I have a wall full of seals, and I have 2 8125 seals in stock because I just don't get rebuilds for them.
They hold up.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what it is about the seal head design or something, and it just works.
Shane, what's up with the seal head design on the 8112s? Talk
What
to
makes
us.
it so durable?
Yeah,
You're sitting over here in silence thinking
Yeah.
about your new 3500 Ram.
His new overlanding vehicle.
Can't get your mind off the Ram 3500 AEV Prospector.
Come on now.
So what's unique about the seal pack on that system?
On the 8125?
No, on the
8112.
8112s.
8112s? Well, I mean, realistically, it's not, it's not really like an off-road racing seal pack. It's actually, I think it was designed from the military
Yeah,
because we have a military division that's secret. And
Not anymore.
Not
so
so
I shouldn't have probably said that.
Military-ish.
Yeah.
There's in our plant in Ohio, there's another building next door, and you can't go in there unless you have authorization. I'll put you that way. So anyways, they're actually durability tested, cycle tested, I know off-road racing is a great test, but these are actually lab tested where they'll be in a room for 2 months cycling.
Wow.
And they have
At high shaft speed.
Yeah, we have a quality or a testing facility that's basically a building next to the plant, next to this other secret building, next to this other building.
That's secret.
That basically just tests stuff all day long.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's
That's where
there's
the seal pack came from?
yeah, it's not the 8125 seal. It's
So
another
it's
seal.
really not a commercial
Yeah.
seal pack. It's a military.
Well, it is now.
A military
now,
grade
yeah.
system, yeah.
Our engineers used it because there's data durability testing. So to be OE on any kind of a program, Toyota or Ford or Jeep, you have to prove the durability of a bunch of different parts, and that's one of the things where you actually have to come to the table with durability testing, and they require a certain test. So we have to be able to perform those tests and then provide that data. So there's a lot to the OE side that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, it takes BILSTEIN a long time to come to market with things because of this type of testing.
Right.
We even in aftermarket, we have the same durability testing rules and regulations in our engineering department. So they can't just go make whatever they want. They have to follow these strict OEM rules.
Oh,
Yeah, we do pull tests supposedly. I mean, I would assume I was told through quality that our pull test is double or triple what the OE pull test is for welded on rod ends and stuff of that nature. So
20 tons is, I think, the stress test.
We're never first to market, but we're also not first to take things out of the catalog when
put something out.
People are figuring that it
doesn't
failing.
work right. Yeah.
And that's a double-edged sword, right? That's really a double-edged sword. My opinion is obviously we don't want the market having failures, but we also want to try to be a little more speedy to market. But it's definitely top priority to get good quality parts out there.
Well, at the end of the day, when you put one of these high-end coilovers on there, you don't have to redo them every 10,000 miles, right?
Yeah, and that's great too. Although as a rebuilder, that is
it's taking away. It's cutting into your business if they don't
yeah.
break often enough. Shane, you have to design it so it breaks faster. So
I'm the one who puts in his order, so I'll just have him nick the
we'll just clip the seal
wiper
so
seal.
They leak a little bit.
I'll just nick the wiper seal.
It gets frustrating when you have to deal with that. It's like, why did you use that seal pack and not the one that we used in racing?
Yeah,
it's like, why?
It just complicates
So
the whole
after
assembly.
40,000 miles, when you took those apart, everything internal was good. The oil was a little scorched, right? The way you drive it, obviously,
someone may have overheated the oil.
Correct. Yeah.
That gremlin that lives in your shop.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
He was barbecuing on an 8112. So.
Yeah. They can get warm.
I was surfing on your site and I saw some really unique products on the site that I'm interested in that I want to know more about. So what is a rooftop tent security bracket? I'm confused by that item.
That's our first patented product. You want to tell them about it?
Yeah. It's if you've ever bought a rooftop tent, you definitely be disappointed with the hardware that comes with it that holds the tent. That's this $2,000 product to your vehicle. So actually, when you got out of the military, that was our big purchase.
Was the tent,
was the rooftop tent, and we were disappointed with the hardware. So Ian started coming up with different designs to mostly just to hold it onto the vehicle better, but also make it theft-proof. Because the hardware right now is just a really flimsy piece of metal, a couple bolts that are exposed. You can just snip those bolts and run off with the tent.
Yeah, and our shop was in El Cajon too, so
live there. I know the area.
Yeah, it's not exactly the safest area.
Right.
And I was looking at it, and I saw tweakers roaming around with bolt cutters, and they would just snip the bolts on the tents. They would just snip 4 of them, and they would walk off with your tent.
Wow.
And it would Like I tried it myself. I could do it in under 60 seconds. So
And there goes your $2,000 tent.
I remember
or
that video.
more. Yeah.
When you had
Yeah.
the pantyhose over your face.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep,
He
there's
was
a
acting in his own video.
He was acting like the tweaker.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so our design is just it's just a block of billet aluminum. It's machined to go around it with a specific tolerance for the air gap above it, so you can't get bolt cutters in.
Right.
And then we have our own proprietary locking hardware for it too, so it's keyed to our specs, and we're the only people with the key for it. Because the other thing I found out is like there's standard security hardware, and every single piece of standard security hardware key from the like 100 different brands all fit the same
yeah.
security hardware.
Right.
It's like a spline key on a lug nut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's I don't even ask customers for those anymore because I just have a drawer full of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you find one that fits.
Yeah.
And it
And
works.
and the
Right.
nice thing about your hardware too is that security nut, once it's fastened and torqued, it's way up in the aluminum, so
yeah,
you can't.
there's no way to get a
to
tool
it.
in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
cool design. I was really impressed by
And
it.
you make them for almost every roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have so many
Bar
options.
You even got the
system.
Rivian, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
I
our
did see
newest.
that on the site. So
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
a very unique product and pretty killer idea to be in the industry with something like that.
Yeah.
Just that niche stuff. man.
Exactly.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, you
Got
gotta
a
find
lot
that
of those
niche.
kinds of products that I need to finish designing.
Yeah, they're stored in your
Right.
brain, just ready to come out.
Yeah. We're hoping to work on a couple more patents next year.
Nice. Looking forward to some new products. And I have to admit, folks, these guys are my neighbors. We both live in a little local town here in the backcountry in San Diego. So I get to visit them from time to time, and there's always a bunch of cool vehicles in the shop. They actually, Brittany hosted our women's off-road event with another friend, and it was really cool. So these guys are just a fun group of people to hang out with, and we really appreciate them coming on the show today. But one thing I wanted to ask is, you mentioned this shell you had on your Toyota, and we've seen some comments on the website about it somehow making the suspension way better than
Right.
it should be.
Performance
Yeah.
shell, yeah.
Yeah. You
So are
actually
you
shouldn't
gonna
buy-
patent the shell?
I was thinking about it. Yeah, I was thinking about just putting a BILSTEIN sticker on it,
Right.
and maybe selling it as a BILSTEIN product.
Right. So a
I don't
BILSTEIN
know.
racing,
Performance shell.
the
Yeah,
high performance racing shell.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's the aluminum canopy. It really adds a lot of performance to the front end of the truck. That's what I have to say. Yeah.
So we've opened the
Yeah.
door.
I
on
love
this.
those comments. You know, I don't.
Why don't you tell us about the video?
So
Yeah.
I'm not one to like unless it's like I'm not one that stops. So I don't like
Yeah.
to comment because I don't stop when the smart guy says that, hey, the camper shell just made that thing operate so much better. I don't start
the super
commenting because I won't stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
You'll get yourself in trouble.
people are so brilliant that they make comments like that. That's like putting a case of water in the back of your truck and them saying that the weight is what.
Well, we should back up. We should tell everybody what the video is about. If you haven't seen it, it's got, I don't know how many.
So you created the video. You did you talked about
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just the original truck with stock off-road shocks versus the 8112s.
So it's a Toyota Tundra.
Yeah.
Basically stock Toyota Tundra
Yeah.
running the stock Toyota shocks.
Second gen.
Second gen. Yeah.
Yeah. And besides that, yeah, we put an aluminum camper shell on because we just did a month-long trip through Utah and Colorado.
Right.
Which apparently is great for performance, which
Right,
I didn't
right.
know, but it's news to me. But I've kept it in mind ever since.
Yeah. But, I mean, the shell is what, maybe 75 pounds?
Exactly.
I don't know. I put it on by myself.
Yeah.
So-
with one hand.
And I think that was its last ride.
Wing
I
nuts
think it
with
pretty
one
much
hand?
rattled it to
It
death.
exploded
after
out.
Wing
that.
nut with
Yeah.
one hand and holding the, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, it's very thin.
We're making jokes here, but actually in the comments, people were accusing us of what?
Tampering
Adding
with
the
the
shell
results. Yeah.
To improve the
flatten out
performance.
the leaf spring
Yeah.
to improve the performance through that area that you were
So
testing.
let's give the folks the way to find the video. What do they Google 5100 or what's the best way to find the video? Because it's really great to watch.
Most comments about a camper shell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most comments about
I don't know. It's on our Instagram page. It's back at a couple, or probably if you just do like 5100 versus 8100, it'll be the one that we redid with you guys. But
Right.
I also think that the people who say that a camper shell somehow makes it way better, if the camper shell was on in the first section of the video and then not in the second, those same exact people would say, well, but the camper shell in the first part made it worse.
Right.
Right? It's the
Right, it
same
doesn't
person
matter.
that says
Yeah.
both,
Right.
either direction.
Right.
Right.
It's just like, it's not a lot of critical thinking, but it's fine.
The other comment I thought was funny too is that the speed.
Oh,
Right.
you're just driving faster. So I reached out personally to the people who
Oh, I saw that.
said that. I DM'd them and I said, hey, man, will you bring your stock truck out to those GPS coordinates? I'll pay you $500 to shoot your truck going 55 over that whoop section.
With stock shocks.
Yeah, and every single one left me on red. I didn't even get a response.
Or they say, no, take the fast shock slower.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
It's like, okay, don't buy good shocks then.
Yeah, we got a lot of really great.
Well,
feedback.
there's a lot of keyboard engineers.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So
The speed was questioned. So then we got together as a team and we made another video, which we tried to verify all the facts or questions that people had in the first video. And essentially we compared our 5100 to 8112s. And the video's posted. And we'll let you describe the difference from inside the cab.
well, first off, let's talk about why we chose to do that. So initially, when Garrett, myself, Mike, we were all discussing what's the second video we should do to combat everyone saying what they were saying, right? And, we had a lot of people, people were saying maybe we should, or one of these guys said, maybe we should just do like a rough country shock and then 8112s. And I said, no. Let's just concentrate on our product. So let's do that way. When the keyboard engineers start, we can talk confidently about our product. If we're comparing it to an OE to Kiko shock, or we're comparing it to a Rancho 9000 or a rough country shock, then we can't talk intelligently about it, right? We know what the damping force is, what spring rate should be used on a 5100, and vice versa on the 8112 as well. So when we came to that decision, that's the reason we came to that decision, so that we could confidently talk about the pros and cons. And I'll tell you what, man, it made me second guess 5100s. I'm like, wow, those things should have broke.
Yeah, they were fine.
In the
We
video,
packed tools and extra and shocks to replace them.
Yeah.
We figured
well,
they
they
were
ended
gonna
up on
break.
an EMT buddy of mine's truck.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, hopefully he's
Yeah.
not running to save somebody.
Scorched,
Yeah.
but maybe they're scorched. But not only did that tell us how great the 8112 product was when you guys were ripping through that area, but the fact that the 5100s, I guess we did what, like 4 or 5, 6 passes with the 5100s,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
and in an effort to break them,
Yeah.
Yep.
and they didn't break.
Yeah.
All we did was break Brittany's head by putting dents in the roof. I mean,
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
little scary. but
Well,
it was
what
fine.
no one saw part of this video is I was following Brittany and Ian in when they had the 5100s on, and Ian had the bright idea that he could just go ahead and take that pass.
we
faster
tried it,
than
folks.
he-
We tried to drive them on stock
So
shocks
when
at
we were
55.
driving into Blow Sands, I was behind Ian in the Bronco, and I saw Ian just go wide open throttle with the 5100s through that pass, and I'm like, holy shit. And then all I saw was I could have done an oil change standing up in that truck, because all I saw is the whole truck was like this. And then we stopped and I said, what happened? He's like, oh, I went a little faster than I should have.
But they didn't break.
Ian's like, oh, you don't say. You don't say.
I don't know how to be normal.
Right.
And
So
that-
the first pass of the 5100, if we would have put that on the video, was probably 40, 45 miles an hour,
Yeah.
which was completely out of control.
No, it was
Right.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was scary watching it. I couldn't imagine being in
Well,
the
I was
vehicle.
sitting next to you in the Bronco, just
Yeah.
chewing my fingernails off watching the truck.
Oh, it was horrific. I thought you had collided with something in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think at one point it shut off too. It just completely died.
Yeah, you beat it so hard. I think
Yeah,
all the
fuel
battery
pump died
cables
or
came off
something.
at one
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, it was wild. I know. It's a part of me was glad that no one took me up on my offer for the 5100s or whatever stock shocks they have, or 2.0, anything, to try and hit that section at 55, because they could get, you could get hurt.
that could be
I
serious
guess the
injury.
biggest takeaway is, like, There's suspension that's intended to do it. There's suspension that's not, right? So
Right.
those that were saying, hey, it's all about the speed, you can get on top of those, well, you can't. You can't.
No.
Your shocks cavitate. You're not staying at the top of anything. You're going to be meeting the Lord if you try.
Yeah.
They're unequally spaced and they're really, really big. So it's not a frequency bump that you can get on top of, or a stutter bump. Those are 3 or 4 feet tall. So
And they're 4 or 5 feet apart.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
So-
why I like that section.
Yeah.
And it's for those that say, you could take anything at speed, like if you were to see this section, there's just very little room to pick up the speed, right? So you with a less quality shock, it's really not possible to get enough speed to get through those first whoops before the truck's coming off the ground, and you can't get traction to get that speed.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
So
And there's different customers too. So like, there's some people who just genuinely should not have 8112s. They're not a customer for the product,
Right.
And they
Right.
would fit way better in a 5100, 6100 system.
yeah,
Right.
that's another thing that I constantly preach is qualifying your customer and letting them know that, hey, you're never going to use this 8112. You're not Ian. You're not going to use this shock for what it's capable of. You're not going to use this. The 6112s are going to be fine for you.
Right.
Right.
You're not going to look as good or as rich or as wealthy at Cars and Coffee, but you're going to have the right shock for the vehicle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're not wanting to take your chassis, the whole vehicle, basically, if you don't want to test the integrity of that truck, 8112s are overkill.
Yeah. It's true.
And this is a bolt-on shock. So like your video stated, like to get this type of performance out of any damper, you would have to do something that changed motion ratio. You would have to do a secondary shock hoop for a bypass. You'd have to do an external bump stop and a coilover, a coil carrier to get that type of performance.
Yeah, and then you'd have to tune them too because the dual shock kits have full valving in the coilover and bypass.
Right.
The
Yeah.
bypass is usually universal valving, and then the coilover will have full whatever 12s and 15s they put in it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's way too much valving.
Right. And but so the worst part about this is most guys, that's why I've always wanted to get a Raptor now that we got someone with a Raptor, second gen Raptor.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot.
And
I'd
run
love
it
to
against the Toyota.
I'd love to run that against your Yoda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Would you challenge any Raptor owner?
I would challenge any Raptor owner.
Yeah.
Any
Second
Raptor
gen.
owner to. Now you're going to have to come with a set of cojones though. You're going to have to
You're
come.
going to want to be able to destroy your truck.
Yeah, like Ian's game.
Yeah.
So, and that's about as best I can say it. Like he's not going to say no. He's going to take the truck through it. So, I would love any Raptor owner that has a stock Raptor to come forth.
Yeah. We did race, he's our friend, but we were racing a little bit in the desert, a first gen Raptor a couple of years ago, and he was pretty bummed afterwards.
Just like that, like the Bronco. You came on your way back from, we're not going to say any names, but he was on your way back from Overland Expo West, right? With that Bronco?
Yeah.
That had a competitor's shock on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he would have much rather been in the clapped out Tundra.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially for, what is that freeway that goes into Flagstaff? It's like the worst.
Is it the 40?
The 40
Oh,
something.
yeah, the 40 that
It's
goes
the
into
worst
Flagstaff.
freeway I've ever seen. And
Yeah, that's a traveler freeway. So the big rigs chop it up real
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, and they were all merging over, and I was like, you're in the wrong lane. And then I had to hit the potholes at 80 just to float over
Great.
them. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay, no.
Great.
They can't
Didn't
be
have the
over
magic
here.
camper shell on at that time
That's
either.
right,
So.
yeah.
Shoot, I didn't. That's probably what messed it up.
But I think that we should qualify on the Tundra. The 8112 is so good that you've had to reinforce the chassis of the truck just to survive the run on the 8112s.
If you're using them at their max
yeah,
capability.
and that's
Right.
important too, is if folks really, so let's say you put them on a stock Tundra and you want to go out and run like that, you can once, right? Now you need to re-weld your frame back together, your brackets are all broken and things like that. So there is a little bit of care that needs to be taken when you get the truck to that level and you want to drive at that speed consistently day in, day out, and have the truck come home or make it home for the most part. All that other heavy dutiness, or you need to add all that structure to the truck so that it will survive.
A lot of gusseting. And we just had this conversation about Brandon and his 4th gen 4Runner. That did a lot of the R&D on this stuff. Like, he just had that. I don't know why he didn't take it to you, but he just had it to a local shop, and
It was pretty beat up.
They basically had to plate the whole frame. There was the whole frame was cracked
from testing 8112.
But that thing's been seen a lot of miles.
Well, I'm not sure that it's been used any harder than Ian's used his.
No, not the same probably.
But I mean, obviously the chassis on the Tundra is a little bit more robust than a Prado chassis, right?
The rear section of the frame though is pretty bad on it. It's like open C channel, which is why they're derated so much for payload. Because I put 3,200 pounds of soil in the bed on accident. Because no one told me the dirt's heavy until I Googled it. I was like, this thing's squatting a lot.
Wait a second, my springs are going the opposite direction.
I was like, does dirt weigh a lot? No one told me. So, yeah, and then you can see the whole bed is just separating from the cab at that point. So it's that they advertise this like 3-stage space age frame, blah blah blah, and then you see the new Tundra has fully boxed.
Right.
So,
well, you remember?
Did it come back?
Yeah,
it did come back.
You remember when they when in 07 when they transitioned when that 2nd gen first came out and they were towing the space shuttle?
Oh, the space shuttle.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they did that one test where they
Over
towed
flat
something
land
up
for
that
3
big
feet.
ramp and then back down again. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think also Toyota was going through the frame rust recall issues at that point, so they were a little bit more scared of doing fully boxed frames because of that, because they can trap the rust in there. And so
they're still replacing 1st gen Tacoma frames.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not a problem here though.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's nice and dry.
And some of like Maine and New Hampshire, people are scared to even put those things on racks.
Oh yeah, I've seen them just
break in half.
The
back half of the frame
scary
just
for
falls
the tech
apart
too.
Yeah,
still more reliable than a Ford though.
I don't know. We'll see.
held in place by the springs in the drive shaft. Don't need a frame.
So, what are your thoughts on the 8112s? Because you work on everyone's shocks, you work on a slew of manufacturers, ADS, Radflow. If the shock can be taken apart, you've taken it apart, right? So, what is your thought on where the market is on our technology versus like an internal bypass? Like, what is the benefits of the internal bypass versus zone control?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I do call the zone control an internal bypass, mainly just because I'm sick of explaining it. I don't know what else to say, honestly. And then every once in a while, someone will be like, "Is it really?" I'm like, "Well, no, but it is." I don't know. I don't know what to say. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple different designs. A couple of the manufacturers, they'll have a secondary sleeve inside of the shock that has like reed valves in it, which you can get some good performance out of, but it necks down the piston size fairly significantly. And then some other manufacturers have like a needle and seat system, which like biases the amount of oil flow that flows through a secondary piston, which I've seen like bend and break and stuff and kind of like clatter around inside there. And you only end up with a bump zone too. So my guess is that shock was originally designed for classes that didn't allow air bumps. Right. And was like single shock per corner type deals. And then they just started selling it. But it's hard to explain because it's a full-size 60-millimeter working piston. Nothing ever bypasses it. All the other sections all work in conjunction with it. There's no like bypassing of it at all, even though it has the 5 zones. So,
and there's 3 stages of ability to re-dampen. So you can dampen, you can re-valve RCO, JCO, and the main piston. So there's absolutely no way, even on the non-DSA, which the DSAs are going to be out here shortly for most applications, and that's what we talked about last time. We're like, everyone wants knobs, so we have to give them knobs. And we did a great job at it.
Because you can actually turn them. They're meant to be turned by a hand.
Right.
It's not just glued on.
Yeah, they don't have like sharp nubs on them that you have to grab with a pipe wrench.
Right. Yeah. So and the detent actually does something. Like we were told by, I'm not going to say names, but we have this technology as well in our UTV side of things, and we were told by a guy who's heavily into UTV that the range of adjustment is so. You can get so much out of the range of adjustment where other manufacturers, you can turn the knob to 10 and you feel minimal, you know, damping differences. Where ours, he went three clicks up on the compression, and he said the whole chassis felt stiff to where they backed it down.
Oh wow!
You know, that was on our Blackhawk stuff, but
Yeah.
nonetheless,
It's nearly double on the DSA open to closed.
Yeah,
when you look
but-
at the engineer drawings.
Yeah,
'cause they have
the
to
damping
dyno
force.
it. They dyno it fully
but
open.
even
and fully
without them,
closed.
and you put a zone control damper on a dyno, and you get it into its first stage of the jounce,
it's like 7
it's
times
significant.
more.
Yeah, it's
And then
the
you get it into
dynographs
the
are
second
insane.
stage on a Tundra damper. Your customer,
Yeah.
remember Mr. Guy?
Yeah.
Mr. Guy that you finally gave up on and said email them.
You have a
That
Mr.
guy
Guy?
that-
A Mr. Guy?
Yeah,
Mr. Guy.
Mr. Guy, we put his on a took his apart, put it on and we got 21,000 newtons of force when it hit the secondary jounce.
Wow.
Jeez.
And
That's
Mr.
crazy.
Guy was upset because that wasn't enough, or
No, he just said it rode.
Oh, okay.
Didn't like the way it rode, and like
He's not an 8100 customer
Right,
primarily.
right.
and you probably
He was a
let him know that,
5100 customer.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
probably let him know that
Yeah.
prior to the sale.
Well, yeah.
Right.
He didn't even reach out prior to the sale, but yeah. Afterwards, he sent us some angry messages on Facebook, which I didn't even see because
Yeah.
I forget about Facebook.
And just to let all the people watching or listening know that we do have, you know, in some cases, 5 different applications for one, like a 5th gen Forerunner, with KDSS, we have a 5100, we have a 4600, a 5100 ride height adjustable, a 6100 heavy load. Then we have a 8112 standard load. So we have 6 different choices for you. If you can't find a shock in a Bilstein catalog, you're probably not looking hard enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially with the heavy load kit options too, which are fantastic because I don't know of anyone else who's revalving shocks for heavier springs.
Yes.
It's actually one of my 8100 before and afters. The before was a 5100, and the shop made a kit to put a 650-pound spring on it. And then they put those giant extended rubber bump stops, and it was awful. And what I really wanted to do was just put it back to the coil it was designed for, and then run it again, and take those bump stops off and put the stock ones in,
Yeah.
and see just how much improvement there is by just being normal.
Right. And let's go down this road for a minute, Ian. Because I know that I've been preaching this to you since the day I met you. And we've spent a lot of time in a jacuzzi talking.
Yeah.
And so, again, Bilstein makes purpose-built components. Why do you think the public gets sold an Old Man Emu spring or an iBox spring with a 5100? Like, do people just enjoy paying an additional $250?
I don't know.
So the 5100, guys, is intended for your stock spring, the one that the vehicle came with.
Yeah.
It's damped for the stock spring. When you put an aftermarket spring on there, not only is it typically longer, but it's also a heavier rate. So now you're oversprung. You've just even I know there's people already in the comment section and this hasn't aired yet, but I'm putting it at the bottom clip. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. The shock is valved to control the kinetic spring energy of the factory coil. When you preload it, it doesn't change rate. It just makes it a little more active.
Yeah, I think like fundamentally customers think that lift and travel are the same numbers, maybe, because I have a bunch of customers who are like, well, why can't I just lift my Tacoma 4 inches? Like
Why can't you do that?
You could do that.
Let's talk about it.
You
What
could.
happens?
Because it has 6 inches of
So what
travel and
happens
you'd be
when you,
topped out.
Yeah.
I want to do 4 inches of lift. I'm going to do this 2 inches, and I'm going to add a 2-inch spacer.
Yeah.
At the old truck fest, they asked that all the
Yeah.
time.
I love this analogy I give everyone that wants to lift their truck 4 inches. Go into your closet or your wife's closet and get her highest pair of high heels and walk around in those things for 3 days.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're making your truck feel like.
But I think that they think, like, take the first gen Tacoma, for instance. I see it's super common with that because the front end does like 7.4 inches of travel.
Max.
Max.
Yeah, and that 7.4 inches of travel only
Yeah.
comes if you clock the spring right and the steering knuckle misses the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a whole thing. But with that, like, let's say you have 4 inches of up travel, and then I see people lift it 2.5 inches, and they have no droop, and then it rides bad, and then all their front end components wear faster, and then they're like, these shocks are junk.
Yeah.
Like,
The best part about it.
Well, imagine the driveline angle at that point.
oh yeah,
The best part about it was when we were in the office every day. I think I used to even send you photos.
yeah,
Of I would go over here to Costco for lunch because that's just what I could afford. BILSTEIN. And anyhow, so I would go over there and I'd walk around the parking lot and I would see these FJ Cruisers, these 4Runners, these Tacomas on 34s, like a 285, 75, 17 or something, with a uniball arm. They're like, yes, I've corrected my caster and I've maxed out the uniball.
yeah,
So these things were in their full droop at ride height. They were,
Pegged.
Yep.
yeah. Like, imagine if that car had no up travel and they were going over a speed bump.
They're wearing the wife's 4-inch heels at that point.
Yeah, it's like, so here's how, here's kind of, and I think me and you've had multiple hour-long conversations about this. Pick the tire size you want to run. Then let's do the minimum amount of lift it takes to clear those tires. And sometimes cutting makes more sense than pinning a suspension.
yeah, because lifting also doesn't help you clear tires too,
Right. It
Because
just,
you're not changing where full bump is. So,
right.
but I think, yeah, I don't know what started that whole idea. My guess is some like unscrupulous people who make commission just decided like, oh, if I sell a wheel and tire package and then a 3-inch lift,
And then a 2-inch lift.
yeah, and then
And this
it's
is
more
where I've
money.
told you for many years that
Yeah.
travel is the most oversold terminology when it comes to off-road suspension.
Yeah, like with all the mid-travel kits, I've tested a bunch of them, and at full droop and full lock, the CV's binding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They leave that part out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave that out.
I've literally
$5,000 worth of axles
I
after 2
literally
miles of
have
driving.
heard CVs reset, the C-clips resetting themselves into the diff when the vehicle comes to ride height.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I mean? You know when you're pushing in the CV,
Yep.
it gets that click noise.
Yeah.
You can hear them resettling themselves. And, you know, a lot of these guys just go onto YouTube and they go on to Google and they try to find what they're after. And a lot of people are undereducated before they make the purchase.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the worst part about it. So another analogy I like to use is, and this is with IFS suspension, is if you put 500 pounds of weight in a wheelbarrow. So if you put Junior in a wheelbarrow and you grab the wheelbarrow by your knees, you're pushing Junior around all the poway in complete control.
Yeah.
Now rotate your hands underneath the handles of that wheelbarrow and put it up by your chest. How much control do you have?
Junior ends up on the
None.
ground.
None. Things all over the place.
Yeah.
So the higher you raise the truck, the less control you're going to have. And the more it's going to take to correct that geometry. And is it even really correcting it? Because you're going to be pinned.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is getting the car drivable. I hate subframe kits, Ian, with a passion.
Yeah.
But if a guy wants to run 35s on a Toyota, put a 6-inch kit on it. Just
Yeah.
drop the subframe, drop the differential, line up all your angles, and do it. Or get the 2.5 and get out your hacksaw and start cutting away.
Cutting.
Yeah.
But don't compromise suspension geometry for tire size, because that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah. No, it's really common too. And it's like, I don't really know how to reach customers because they aren't necessarily looking for that information, because it's like the, what is that called? They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Right.
So they don't know to look it up
Right.
to then,
Right. They don't know how to look it up because they don't know what they're looking for.
yeah. So that's our struggle, is trying
Yeah.
to educate people.
Yeah, our biggest thing has been trying to put the education out there, because a more educated customer is a better customer altogether.
Yeah, like I have like 10 or 15 customers that right now that are rebuilding their 7100s
Yeah.
based off,
Yeah,
a video
you're
I
probably the only business owner I know that talks yourself out of business.
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
no,
it's not a good business
I
model,
cost
but-
us a lot of money. And
100%.
or I'll have
100%.
customers come in, they're overlanders, they have a higher center of gravity rig, and they're asking about putting bypasses on the back. I'm like, I don't I don't know
not
if
good for what you're trying to do.
There's like a dollar to fun ratio that you
Right.
can achieve, and I don't
Right.
know if it makes sense for that, because then you're going around turns and you can open the bypass tubes just with the leverage of all that weight up top,
Right.
and it might be kind of floppy, and they might not like it. And how fast are you driving with the camera?
Right.
Right.
And is it in the proper ride zone? Is it?
Yeah.
Can I get a bypass that's doesn't have a custom tube layout that's going to be in the proper ride zone? And is it going to stay in the proper ride zone once your leaf springs sag out?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There's so many variables to this, and you do talk yourself out of a lot of business.
Yeah, I do. We could make a lot more money if I just told people, yeah, sick.
You
But
need this, yeah.
hands down, this is the reason why you live in Julian,
Yeah.
and people come from all over Arizona, Colorado to come
Yep.
and get their stuff done with you.
Yeah, many states away. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been really, I don't know, we've been really fortunate with our
Yeah, you're
customer
very
base.
blessed.
Is awesome.
Absolutely.
And I think
Yeah.
the people really like the fact, and I've actually read it on the webpage about the being honest with them
Yeah.
and selling them the product that best matches the needs or their abilities or what they want to do with the vehicle. And
Right.
and as far as getting the education out there, I mean, that's kind of why, that's the whole idea behind this podcast. And
Right.
Well,
I
it's
know
tough.
your podcasts are that way too, where
Yeah.
it's all customer education and just trying to pass on knowledge to people when they're out there trying to find that.
Well, it's tough for me because I'll sublet some work to Ian on pretty consistent basis, and I'll have everything shipped to Ian's house, and he's like, "Hey, this guy doesn't need anything you sent." And I'm like, "Could you just shut up and put it on?"
And most of those are BILSTEIN
Like, it's a
trucks.
Curry
Yeah.
correct. I'm putting a Curry correct link on it, and this guy's like, "This car has 19 miles on it, bro." I'm like, "Just put it on. Just put it on."
It's already paid for. Just put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also a reason, just, you know, that we as a manufacturer, if we don't have time to do something, we give it to Ian. Like, we've sent our JL, we've sent Broncos, we've sent, like, because the work is superior. Like, it's we trust him. He is always on time, always, the work's never questioned, right? So the
Yeah.
quality of work is never questioned, which unfortunately in San Diego's tough to find, right?
Yeah, the market's kind of oversaturated with shops too, and every once in a while we'll talk about like, oh, I wish we got like a 10,000 square foot warehouse in the city and then opened it up. But there's also like, it's our quality of life living in the middle of nowhere is awesome, and our shop's on our own property on 10 acres, and we're about to expand it, and then we're expanding like our cellar section to have a bunch of mills and lathes in there too, and do some more of that work literally in-house in our house.
And clearly your wife has the utmost trust in you because she quit her.
She was the
My
one
day job.
who
Yeah.
She quit
pushed
her
me to
full-time
start it.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
quit her full-time job. And now you've done so well, you have a full-time employee,
Yeah.
a full-time fabricator.
Yeah,
He's great, too.
been-
He's
Yeah, Nick, shout out to Nick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's awesome. He's pretty much most of his career has been Formula Drift stuff. So he's been doing that forever, and he TIG weld a bunch of roll cages for Formula Drift and design suspensions and stuff. So he's been totally awesome. And
We'll have
he's
to
local,
expand
too.
the table and invite him.
I know.
But it's so I feel honored to have watched you basically go from when I met you to what you guys have done now is incredible. And you know what I love about you the most is you don't it's kind of no holds barred. Like, me and you have a relationship as a friendship relationship. We also have a working relationship because I'm your account manager,
Yeah.
right? Well, not really a manager, but I'm your account guy.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
You're the person.
Anyhow, if you find something faulty with us, you air it. If
Yeah.
you find something faulty with our competition, you air it. Yeah, like you were taking apart a 7100 and you found a metal shaving in it. Was that a 7100?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I had to fight this because of this.
Yeah.
Hey, make sure your guys check things before they
Yeah.
put them together next
Yeah.
time. And
So you don't
we
have,
appreciate that.
as much as we have a relationship, whether it's within work, outside of work, you're just that guy that's going to be honest.
Yeah.
Regardless of the relationship. Sometimes it's...
He's all, that's not so good.
Come
all the
on,
time.
Brittany.
Process. Some brands, so we're actually grateful that you guys appreciate that because other brands don't, and they might be too scared to let us use a product. because we're going to give the honest feedback.
Or we break a product and then they unfollow us.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, it's look, man, every one of the shocks that you purchase are hand built. Well, not every single one of them. There's some
anything
stuff
with a Schrader valve.
Anything with a Schrader valve. Anything with a Schrader valve is hand built here. Look, man, like doctors make mistakes.
Yeah, everybody's human.
Yeah.
Right.
I jacked up my finger last night putting a shock together.
Yeah.
Right.
It's literally this whole piece of skin is gone.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully it wasn't one of ours.
it was.
Oh.
But it was my fault.
I saw that coming.
We didn't own the screwdriver that you were
But
using to take that apart.
like as I said, doctors make mistakes, physicians make mistakes. A shock builder is not free of making mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So by you calling it out, how does that offend us? I look at it as just a way to go back to BTC and say, hey,
Yeah, it
check
allows
this
us
out.
to make better products.
How do we better this for next time?
Yeah.
How do we never make Ian talk any more shit about us on social media? Like because regardless of the relationship, good, bad, indifferent, he's gonna talk shit if he finds a problem.
Yeah. We've actually adopted
Which I think is great.
yeah.
or changed some of our process flow engineers have listened to some of the feedback from shock rebuilders like Ian, and they've changed the process and how we build our shocks to make the product more consistent, better, more durable. Like Shane said, using these high-end seal packs from the military MRAP vehicles and things like that. It just, any feedback that we get, somebody says, hey, I had this 8112 when I melted the seal pack. Well, we need to try to figure that out. So for us, I mean, we would be stupid not to take that information and use it to make better products for everyone, right? So that's much appreciated.
You're gonna get the one-offs where our seal head assembly is leaking.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to meet the guy who melted the seal head assembly. It sounds like he parties.
Yeah, he wants to be your running buddy on the next trail.
Yeah.
But we're not perfect. Like, I had a leaky 8100 rear for a 5th Gen 4Runner, and there was just a minor little pinhole in the weld.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that we didn't catch in QC. I mean, clearly the oil didn't catch it because it didn't start leaking for how long? So my thought is the coating covered up that little, and then finally there was enough cycle and enough pressure going through there that it opened it up. But nonetheless, again, we're not perfect. So we don't pretend to be perfect. We just want to be the best. And if it takes guys like you calling us out and talking your mad crap, we'll take it and we'll use it to better our situation, right?
Yeah, but I'm also fair though. I don't.
Yeah. Very fair.
Yeah, I don't. I always talk about the good things that companies do as well,
Right.
Which is usually most of it's good.
You guys have done several very, very fair shock shootouts that we saw.
As fair as it can be.
Reviews.
Yep.
And, there were, 4 or 5 different brands. And we watched it from beginning to end. And we had to agree with everything that you said. And the feedback, whether it was good or bad, was well appreciated by us and our customers.
Well, yeah. I mean, the title of the 8112 one was the BILSTEIN's clunky.
Yeah.
like that's definitely not what we wanted to hear, but we're going to take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to take it. And I know why it was clunky, because you did it without the sway bar, and it was probably more into its jounce zone.
Well, when it's going at low velocity, you can hear it.
Exactly. And it's
But
stated
it's not clunky anymore though.
Right.
So that the guy whose truck we use is a friend of ours, and we've gone out to the desert with him after that, and he said, I can't hear him. So
yeah, we were
I don't know.
thinking maybe it cycled some air out of one of the systems, one of the valving systems or something, but it
Might have been
went away.
air trapped in the jounce. Could have been a number of things.
You can still hear it though.
You can still hear it.
Yeah, I hear it.
I remember back in
Yeah.
2016 when this technology was first
Yeah,
coming out.
we'd
I
get
talked
tons
to
of
you and
calls.
Brandon. I'm
Yeah.
like, make sure you put a note in the
Yeah,
instructions.
it is.
that it's audible.
Yeah.
An audible click.
noise.
There's
yeah.
an audible click, and it's just it's inevitable.
But
you have this technology.
We'll take clunky. I mean, that's fine with us, just as long as the product does what it says it's going to do.
And
I
the
mean, in the
clunkiness,
end,
it went away.
those are the shocks he put on his truck
Right.
after the shootout. So.
And
Yeah, he had a choice of any of the ones that you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he had a dash cam in his truck that is set to record for accidents, and it went off 47 times while we were testing it.
it was that violent inside the
so
cab.
I was like, any shocks you want, bud. Any of them. Don't sue me.
Yeah, for those who don't know, this video was with Overland Outfitters. It's
Yeah.
on their YouTube channel. There's 5 or 6 different videos blind testing different shocks from different shock companies.
Yeah, and we just we set the dates for this year's blind shock shootout, which is going to be all like 2.0s and probably like 6112.
Better do some yoga stretches, kid.
Yeah.
Get a helmet.
Better do some kidney belt and a helmet and some yoga stretches.
Yeah.
Or find another driver. Let Nick drive and you do the installs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's
Well, you
gonna
may
be
not
rough.
get your truck back in one piece if you got.
Well,
Nick
yeah,
driving
definitely.
it.
Definitely, whoever you borrow the truck from is going to have to know that there's potential failure involved.
Oh yeah,
Right,
like I told
yeah.
the customer that I took the truck from that, like, hey, I own this truck now. Like anything that happens with it in the next couple of years, just assume it was my fault.
Right.
Right.
Oh, they're going to anyway.
Yeah, and
You'll
bring
get
it
a
back.
bill.
It's fine.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Yeah, I'll just take care of it. Because that thing got hammered. The first one out there. It's also partially my fault because I haven't driven a lot of 3rd gen Tacomas in stock form. Everything I do is like 3-link, long travel, something more extreme. So I'm not always like as
Some crazy Watts link that.
yeah. I like doing weird stuff for fun. But yeah, I'm not always super familiar with how like a stock travel vehicle should perform. I just assume everything is the 8112. So like I jumped it like 3 or 4 feet, and we were like, all I saw was like sky, dirt, sky, dirt, sky,
Airbags,
dirt.
dash, glass, all kinds.
The dash cam was beeping. Yeah.
Both you and Braden from Overland Outfitters, who were in the vehicle, have broken backs.
Yeah.
So,
And after that jump, both bloody noses. Right?
It's really funny because when we developed the 8112, it was with a Tacoma, and we did the
Second
same
gen.
shock shootout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
No.
Yeah, we did. Remember how
No,
mad
I
you
bought
were?
the shocks.
Remember how
I
mad
bought-
you were?
he-
You're like, why are you buying all these shocks? This is a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, and
Actually, it kinda was a waste of time.
Two of the manufacturer shocks that we bought never even made it
To the desert.
around the corner.
Yeah.
Like, because our engineers threw some of them on, and they were like, "I'm not
No,
driving."
we
these in
did
the
we did a shock shootout. We did 100%.
But
We even
Brandon
had-
told me there was one set of shocks that he would not drive off road.
No,
Yeah.
we had 5, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 teams with a little notepad. Remember Dirk Walk?
Yeah.
And he organized it. We went through. Right.
What happened to those shocks?
I don't know.
It disappeared.
We drove through what was it, like Lost Valley or something? It was a paved road into like a really bad dirt road, up through some mountains into Anza-Borrego.
But
And
you
we-
didn't change the shocks out there. You came back here. You
And we
put the shocks on,
came
yeah.
and like the next week we did another brand.
same
We
brand,
needed to
right.
see where we stood.
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the market?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
What's
was
the
interesting.
expectation?
A part of me thought that doing the 3rd gen Tacoma shock shootout, I was like, this is gonna be an awful video because they're all gonna be the same, and it absolutely
Wild.
not.
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't
It's
know.
wild.
It's totally different.
You know what I ask you to do? And I'm probably asking you to do that because I know what price range we're in.
Yeah,
But do something within a price range.
that's what we're doing
That's
in
the
this
next-
shootout.
yeah.
It's more
So-
budget-minded
so-
options.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's going to put our 6112 in there with a bunch of 2.0 stuff.
Yeah.
And it's going to shine. It's going to outshine all of them.
Yeah, but if it's in the same price range, then I don't see how it's not a fair comparison.
Right.
Right.
Personally.
The
So you know
technology
what?
should be the
If
same.
our 6112 is in that video because of price range, please do our 5100 too. I'll give you a set of 5100s to do our 5100s
Yeah,
too.
we're doing it.
Right.
Just because I don't want the video or the comments to say, oh, that's a 60 mil versus this.
Yeah.
I'd like to get the 20, our 5100 in there just for apples to apples.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have like I think like 13 different brands we're testing this time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people reach
Talk
out
about
afterward.
what are you testing?
Can I even say that on here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. IBOC already sent us shocks. They're new shocks.
Is that one with the adjustable, threaded adjustment?
I think so. I haven't looked at it in a while. There's that. We're doing the Fox 2.0s. Rancho King doesn't have a 2.0. I think Elka has a 2.0. And I don't remember the rest of the brands, but there's a lot of random ones too. There's like Rough Country. I think Pro Comp has a 2.0 shock as well, and we're going to test
fully loaded assembly.
Yeah. And so I don't know. We're just trying to do as many as possible because also it's easier to swap than the shocks.
13 chances of another broken back.
Yeah, exactly.
Understand.
That's going to be rough.
Understand this. Understand this. To the people that are listening prior to this video ever being made, these again are purpose-built shocks. He's going to use them in situations they're not intended for, to try to capture your best value as a consumer.
Yeah.
Don't do this with a 2.0 shock. Don't do what he's going to do with a 2. I encourage you not to even do what he did with a 2.5s. But, I mean, some of these manufacturers, you could just do it. And again, like I was telling you, Ian, how the word travel is oversold. I like to talk about confidence more than I like to talk about travel, because a good set of, whether it's ours or another manufacturer's, a good set of dampers on the vehicle gives you the confidence to use the available travel that the vehicle
what the vehicle came with, and it gives you a comfortable, safe ride.
Would you agree that if you don't change motion ratio, are you really getting more travel?
No.
You can, but are you breaking everything because of it? And also the stock vehicle engineers, they don't just limit the travel arbitrarily.
No.
They're not just like, 7.6 sounds good. Yeah. We'll just put that down. It's like there is something that happens at 7.7 or 7.8 inches.
That's not good.
That they are trying to avoid.
And everything that's attached to that steering knuckle will overcycle if you allow it to.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? But if you're using travel, like let's say, the guy that says his uniball upper arm generates more travel. It does not. And I'm only saying this because you got a factory ball joint lower. It's on the same plane. Yeah. You cycle that whole steering knuckle up.
Yep.
That lower ball joint is going to be your stopping point. Regardless if your upper can pivot more or not, your lower can no longer.
Yeah.
It may allow the lower to overcycle more. Like, you want to know what allows you the most travel? A worn out upper ball joint and a worn out lower ball joint.
Yeah, that's true.
That will give you the absolute most travel you want.
You should patent that.
Yeah. You should sell that.
You should go to the junkyard and get
start buying
I'll
old
just
ball
keep
joints.
The parts that I take off vehicles, and we'll give them to people as mid-travel kits.
Yeah.
Like every
bolt-on mid-travel kit.
Every uniball that I can go like this with, we'll turn it into
more travel.
Theoretically, that's the case, though.
With a 5-minute warranty.
A tight uniball is not going to overcycle like a worn, like the Teflon in a uniball is worn. It's going to obviously have more rotation, and that's why you could take it and spin it in the bearing inside the housing.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even a big fan of uniballs anyways. Like,
they should never be on a daily driven vehicle.
Yeah, street vehicles.
I mean, I always say do as I say, not as I do, because our personal truck has like 24 uniballs on
Well, that's actually because you've torn off. We've walked down this together.
We realized the steel-on-steel connection is a good thing for your truck.
We've walked down this together. In fact, it was one of our products that he found a failure point on. And he had to move into another product that we didn't offer so that it was rigid enough to keep up with the habits he has, right? And he found the failure point in the upper controller. It was just the way.
That's right.
It was
I forgot.
just how they pivoted, right? It was the pivot, not the design, but the material on the pivot. It was the bushings. You were just blowing through the bushings.
Yeah.
Because you were overcycling the front end, right? You're taking it to, and not only that, with the upper arms, all the casters, like, there's no caster split, really. You max out your lower cam, and then you get your 2.2 or 2.5 degrees out of the upper. If you're not splitting it, there's a moment in that travel, because you've had your steering knuckle like this, now your steering knuckle is pushed back at the top for that 2.5 degrees or 2.2 degree or whatever degrees they built into them. So now there's a moment in that travel on the compression stroke where it's just tearing that back part of the control arm. It wants to rip it out of the frame because you've introduced caster on one side of the travel. Now, if you introduced a degree here and a degree here, it would probably be a little more fluid on the upstroke.
Yeah, and a friend of mine is making high caster lower control arms. And
That's what it needs to be.
Yeah, and it'll be half and half, the upper and the lower,
And
which
it'll
then I think
match.
it'll keep the curve correct. Because, if you just add in 2 degrees of caster where your new ride height is at full bump, you have at least 2 more degrees then.
Right.
And you're loading.
Changes the bending moment.
Yes, changes,
You're
loads
loading
it
the
up.
rear pushing quite a
And
bit
it's
more.
just like that thing you did for Javier's truck that didn't work. Remember that
Which
whole
one?
lower subframe that would weld it in?
Kind of worked.
Kind of worked. But it was like a caster subframe, right?
Yeah, it pushes the whole front suspension an inch forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To get the ball joint forward, the lower forward of the upper, which is positive caster.
Keeps the curve.
And
more
for tire
in
clearance
line.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
You can do 35s on a Tacoma then without doing a body mount chop or anything. Not that a body mount chop is... It's like a $2,000 kit. So, like, don't if you're just doing it not to do a body mount chop, probably do the $200.
Or just run the
Yeah,
tire
yeah.
size that doesn't require any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean,
but what's
typically,
the install time on a body mount chop?
Oh, yeah, it's like an hour or 2.
well,
Yeah.
it's not really an install; it's a de-install.
Yeah,
You're
it's
just
a
cutting
hammer and a
material out.
welder.
Yeah. So this kind of takes us back to what we've been talking about on almost every episode we've had is, or I'm going to say something stupid. Just run tire sizes that actually work.
Yeah, yeah.
Because guess what? I'm sure your drivetrain, your powertrain, your gas mileage and everything is going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Tacoma is going to appreciate a 33 far more than it's going to appreciate a 35. And I don't care what you do by saying I've re-geared it. You still have like 29 spline axle shafts, man. You know, you can re-gear it all you want. You could put a different carrier in there. You can lock it. You can do what you want. You still have factory lower control arms, man. Like there's so much unsprung weight, offset wheels that are the shape of that TV box. All this stuff has a negative impact on a vehicle's performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big thing for me with tire size, too, is like part of the reason why we do so many 3-links is because if you go out and look at a 2007 F-250 front brake setup and then compare it to a 95 Toyota Tacoma, they're substantially different. You can fit the Toyota Tacoma brakes inside the F-250 ones, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
And with so much more rotational mass, and then you're loading it down and stuff, you can hit brake fade just on
Daily driving.
just daily driving it, which is very scary.
And not to mention everything with the safety ABS safety factors. I mean, are you altering the way that whole
Of course you are.
system is designed to work? Absolutely. Like, yeah. If you want 35s, get a vehicle that you have to do minimum to run it. Get a Tundra.
Yeah, our Tundra on 35s is great.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have
We're
gone.
pushing up, yeah.
Yeah, but that's like a Tacoma on 33s.
Yeah.
It's a Tundra on 35.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. That's you know what I mean? You have a 5.7, so you can move the 35-inch tire, you know, and still, now that you have 37s on there, now you're that customer we talked so much crap about. But now that you have those on there, I mean, re-gearing, you're going to have, I mean, do you feel like you need a re-gear?
I'm already at 48s.
Oh, okay, you're
I did
already
the
there.
48s in a limited slip, but I didn't realize it came stock with 430s,
Yeah,
which is like
430s.
really deep.
But I've done 35s where on first gen Tundras where customers actually feel on grades that's searching, it's hunting for a gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't relearn. So
Yeah.
you can get a
Hypertech.
the Speedo like modulator.
calibrator.
All Toyota stuff is so proprietary that you can't just like plug something in and tell it what tire size you have, like you
You
can
got to
with the
wire
Jeep.
it in.
Right.
Yeah, instead you have to solder it in and interrupt the signal and then plug it into your laptop and do a thing and then plug it back in and then it's not right. And you do that 5 or 6 times.
And
until
you
it
end up
works.
with a very sad face, and you need to buy a new CAN bus system for your truck.
Yeah. So it is a lot more involved, but right now our truck Speedo is totally accurate.
So I want to touch
good.
on something real quick because all of the world has Shane, I, and Mike's opinion on overlanding. You're a business owner, and if you don't want to answer this because I know you should answer it because you walk away enough business anyway. What's your opinion on the overland community?
What do you think?
I think we are overlanders.
It's honestly a pretty good time.
nice.
Yeah, it's like
Comfortable.
growing up rock crawling for so many years, like my vacations are stressful. Because like our last Rubicon trip, I had the welder out 3 times.
You also towed 2 Samurais behind a Tundra
That was
at
stressful.
116 degrees.
Yeah.
It was the hottest day on record. Yeah, through Adelanto and stuff.
But that part was fine, yeah.
That part was great. I had AC on. I had cruise control going. It was fine. No problems. But I don't know. I like overlanding. It's fun.
No, but what do you think about the community? Like, what is your take on everybody? I call it decorating.
Mm-hmm.
Decorating their 5th gen 4Runner or their 3rd gen Tacoma or their now. I mean, I'm even seeing like Rovers, Land Rovers, and like I guess the higher income bracket of overlanding is a real thing with the 200 series Land Cruisers.
Yeah, or the
it's
Cayennes.
really
Or the Cayennes,
exploded.
yeah.
We honestly didn't think it would get this big. We thought
It's
it was going to
crazy.
be a
Yeah, I thought
fad
it
that
would
would
fizzle.
end. But
So you guys are believe it's a trend.
I
think it's
don't
here
know
to stay.
anymore.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think the pandemic contributed a lot to it too. A lot of people
did.
decided to do things like that because they couldn't go anywhere else.
And
they
I think
wanted
they
to
were
get
building
out.
the doomsday vehicle as well, thinking
Yeah.
that, you know, I need this
Yeah.
thing to get away in a hurry. I need
Yeah.
to have all my stuff with me.
I also agree that the pandemic was a big game changer on the
Yeah.
off-road side and the direction that it took as far as overlanding. And it either made you an overlander or a detail/paint correction professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like everyone had way too much time on YouTube during COVID.
Yeah.
And they became overnight professionals of anything they wanted to be, whether
Right.
it's shining shoes, whether it's
Baking bread.
baking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
bread bakers, man. We
Yeah.
were.
Jeez.
My
I
wife
never
found every
expected
single.
it.
My wife found every single bread baker in California and wanted to give them our business. So we were like during COVID, we were doing like fully masked pickups at people's apartments in Hillcrest.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, do you know this guy? No. Well, I saw him on YouTube, or no, I saw him on Instagram, and he's baking bread because he lost his job.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I want
That's
to
cool.
support him. Great. This
Yeah.
bread's terrible. Yeah. They
Maybe he
sell
should
this
try a
bread-
different career.
They should sell this bread with a pint of water.
Yeah.
I can't swallow this bread.
Rough.
But yeah, everyone just became like whatever their hobby was, whether sewing, whether car detailing, whether everyone just like COVID made it so. This is why I think it's a trend. You think it's here to stay?
Yeah.
I think it's a trend. I think that it's all going to crash like the housing market.
Overlanding.
Yeah, I've been thinking that for years, but it just hasn't happened.
It hasn't.
Wow.
I don't know. There's good and bad to it too. Like you do have the people who just bolt a bunch of stuff on and then never use it, which
Right.
everyone makes fun
that
of, and they
happens
should.
in any industry.
Yeah, it's
right.
same with everything. There's people with stuff, and you're like, okay.
Side by sides, motorcycles,
Yeah.
people buy stuff just
Like
a
because they
status
think it's
symbol.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine if you're doing that.
What's wrong with buying stuff?
Yeah,
Junior?
it's
That's
cool
what
to
keeps
have
us
stuff.
going, man.
Yeah,
So-
that's true.
So the cars and coffees guys, you know what I mean?
But they're not that. They're more of the hardcore users of the
Correct.
products.
Correct. I was
I
just
think-
trying, I was
I
trying to
think
gauge
you
guys
what your
are,
thought is
yeah.
on like us. Like we're wannabe overlanders. Like you're building our Bronco to be a crazy overlander, and we're not going to overland. We have, what do you call them?
All right,
Mole.
We
edit
have
that part out.
we have moley racks on our Bronco
Yes. Because
With-
we need to carry accessories.
with Max Tracks attached
Yes.
to them.
Yes.
Maxtrax is a great company, and they make a phenomenal product.
Do
I would
they?
like to say.
Yeah. we
I
actually
used to
really
make
like-
fun of them so much, and I was wrong.
And then you used them.
And then it saved our life.
You needed them. Yeah.
But I mean,
It actually saved your life.
We got into some.
Well, they put themselves
Sketchy
in the situations.
situations,
That's
yeah.
what being overlanding is you know, going out and having the
but
adventure.
see that's a
But you used
crawler.
it. You
That's an
unbolted it
off-roader.
and used it.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm dating myself. But our era of damn near Social Security,
Yeah.
our era, that's an off-roader. They're an off-roader.
Yep.
Yeah.
The camper guys were the overlanders, and then the go fast guys were the guys with quote unquote long travel kits.
Yeah.
Like it
Yep.
now, like we were talking about, it's all
blending,
kind
yeah.
of blended
Yeah.
itself
Into one vehicle.
to this overland community where you see guys with fifth gen 4Runners trying to go through Bronco's Peak. And they really shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
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 I went through there in my 100 Series Land Cruiser. I shouldn't have been there. The rusty one that you had to get metal shavings taken out of your eye for.
Oh yeah.
Or the Cleghorn.
Yeah, the
Cleghorn.
Cleghorn.
Like
yeah. We originally built our Tacoma to be able to do all those things, to off-road and overland and rock crawl and finally have the vehicle that does it all and to drive home in it.
Right.
I mean, that was our whole point, is to be able to do all of those things. I do think that overlanders have contributed to the whole industry as a whole. I mean, they've really kind of exploded the
100%.
market.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
There's some good. Yeah, I used to be like pretty negative about the whole term and everything, but honestly, every time I go to Overland Expo West, I have such a good time. And like a lot of those people who are at the booths there are like our close personal friends. Like essentially every friend we have is from Instagram.
Right. And that
Yeah.
community of
Yeah.
people.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
that's
Yeah.
really done a whole,
Yeah.
a whole
They're all
lot
nice.
of
Yeah.
good for us.
So
Super
try
nice.
not to meet Ian in person.
Yeah.
Is what he's saying.
He's like, he won't like you in person, but
Yeah.
you got to contact him on Instagram.
Yeah, I guess from what I've been saying that I guess it would sound like I can't stand the overland community, which is not the case.
Yeah.
I just think that I think it's so trendy. It's so trendy
is.
to see. Like that's half of the reason I got rid of my first 100 Series Land Cruiser. Like it had bumpers and winch and that stuff had been on it for eons before overlanding was overlanding, right? Like I mean, you know the truck. It was rusted. The brake pedal pulsation issue, and it's like I got rid of it because when we were tuning shocks for it, it was almost impossible to control that mass. You know, so I promised myself I'd never get another one, and I got another one.
Yeah.
So I think it's heavily favors trending more than actually a lifestyle. And I think just like the lowered Civics with the big exhaust in 99 and 2000, I think it's eventually going to fade out.
Well, it's a lot of the, like, maybe not a lot. There's a certain percentage of the overland community that was those guys, and then now they've grown up and had a family,
Right.
so they got a 5th gen 4Runner.
Right.
And you can tell who still lives with their parents versus who lives on their own, because
Yeah.
it's like
The
the
more
guy
money.
that lives on their own has a 4th gen 4Runner
Yeah.
all decked out. And the guy that lives at home has like a 5th gen TRD Pro all decked out with the
Hey, man.
Recaro baby seats.
If it works, it works. I'm not knocking it.
100%.
Um,
I'm just trying to live with you guys in
I
that
know.
10 acres, man.
Yeah.
yeah.
So what do you guys see in the future? What projects do you have coming up? Anything cool on the close radar? And what about long range as far as Wheel Every Weekend and new products and things like that?
So, unfortunately, we did sell our main shop truck, which has 8125s, bypasses, which I just Cerakoted, because I drove them through salt a couple times, which isn't good for shock coatings, and any shock coating. So, unfortunately...
it wasn't just salt. I think I saw you set up in a riverbank with your chairs in front of the truck. And then I've seen it buried in snow up to the door jams.
The snow, maybe.
Yeah, the
bit of
snow,
We didn't park the
yes.
truck in the
No, I don't park the truck in the water. It's awful for the whole agricultural system out
Yeah.
there. But yeah, or like mud too, especially the mud in Ocotillo Wells when
Yeah.
it does rain out there.
Caustic.
It's awful.
Yeah.
There's some like, I mean, it's probably runoff from the Salton Sea or something, but there's still like rust flakes inside of the frame from one time we went through the mud out
From
there.
the day we met you.
Yeah,
Oh,
and we
yeah,
were.
didn't you
Mud
guys
got?
end up going by Home Depot to get a power washer?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
bought
Yeah.
one on the way home. Yeah, and we were rescuing people that whole day. People left their dirt bikes on the trail because they were so caked full that in first gear they would let the clutch out and it wouldn't go. It would just stall.
Yeah, just mud it up.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so we like drove people back to their camps, and they were like, "We'll come back and get it tomorrow."
No one's going to be able to take it.
Yeah, they're like, "No one's gonna steal it because it doesn't work." But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Next month, we are working on our friends' Frosty four-wheeler. They have an off-road
yeah.
recovery business in Mammoth. Right now, they average maybe about 100 calls a month for off-road recovery. So they're sponsored by Warren and Factor 55, and their truck's going to be on display at Hammers and a couple other events. So we're doing a giant build-out on the back of it.
Is this that F series?
Yeah, it's like a 76.
The regular cab?
Yep.
Okay, cool. That green truck, right?
It's white.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I probably see it now that I got the glasses.
Yeah. It's cool. Yeah, I spent 21 hours in it one day going to do a snow recovery on the Rubicon with 49s. And it was kind of brutal because the 49s like hop a little bit, and then there's enough exhaust fumes coming in the cab.
Half stoned.
Yeah.
Pulls you into
Sore back and half
eternal
stoned.
slumber.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, what if you just slept forever?
So you were partying basically.
Just close your eyes.
Yeah, I had
Don't
the
come
window
back.
open. It was probably 5 degrees out, and I was just like hanging my head out the side to try and think clearly.
What's in that thing? A 460?
No, it's the one before that.
So you're gonna fix
It's
the
built,
exhaust
though.
leak when
Yes.
you redo the
Yeah, we're
truck.
doing it. Yeah,
Good
my buddy
idea.
has done a bunch of exhausts. He's doing a full TIG welded stainless exhaust on it, which
Right.
is super nice. He's really killer at it.
And you were rescuing somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were
going there to
By the
help,
time you got there, you needed rescue.
Yeah, it was really bad. We actually had to rescue one of the locals who has a cabin out there, and he said it was the worst he's ever seen it. And then we rescued another people who didn't even make it to the parking area at the trailhead. They stopped plowing like a mile before that, and they made it about 100 feet in, and they were so stuck, someone tried to pull them out from the pavement and couldn't do it.
I've seen Frosty Four Wheeler's Instagram page. I follow him, and he's out there saving. Everyone should love these guys. They're saving your Amazon drivers, your UPS drivers.
Everyone, yeah.
Like, if it wasn't
Yeah.
for Frosty Four Wheelers, you wouldn't be a Prime member.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, they're pulling out semi-trucks, too, and, like, they do
Yeah.
some pretty incredible
Shout out to
recoveries.
Frosty's Four Wheelers.
Yeah, I know.
So that truck's going to be in the shop for one of your upcoming projects?
Yeah, it'll be there
September.
for about a month, and then
So you're gonna 3-link the rear,
the front.
the front. What are you doing to the rear?
Keeping it on leafs, but hopefully better shocks. It's on 5100s, all 4 corners, and leaf
So
springs.
underdamped.
And yeah, and he said he averages 280 miles a week off road. I'm like,
A lot of
on
off-road
5100s.
miles. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
You're not really the customer for that.
yeah.
right.
Sure,
I'd
you don't
like to
wanna
see the
upgrade?
X-rays.
Yeah.
Yes, and his back is broken too,
Yeah.
actually, from a snowboard accident.
Right.
So even better. After that is Shock Value 2.0.
Shock Value 2.0.
That'll
yeah.
be fun.
Well, let's talk about. Should we even leak it? The new shop truck that's going to be being built, or have you talked about?
Oh
that yet?
Talk about
Let's
yeah.
leak
We
it
can
out.
talk
Let's
about
leak
it
it
on
out.
this. And we have we're building out a full shock tuning trailer finally. I have a really cool design for it. I did it in the computer. We have like 8 vices, drill press. We're
Yeah,
doing
the
a
new
whole like
trailer. That's the
lithium
first new
battery
vehicle
setup.
you've bought, right?
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Trailer that has to be
Yeah,
towed.
but we might be getting a bigger one already because I designed it in CAD and I was like, oh,
Yeah, look at that.
this is small.
No
Yeah.
room for Junior in here.
I know. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it was going to be like 30-inch walkways in between. Huh?
Yeah.
You'll have to wait outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little
Can't bring
tight.
my wheelchair for sure.
I know. But so we're gonna have that going. I think we're gonna have to buy a bigger truck to be able to tow that because I finally estimated it's gonna be like 9,000 pounds, which the Tundra is technically rated to tow, but you shouldn't with it. Mainly because of the brakes are pretty small on the Tundra. So I was gonna do a big brake kit on the Tundra, which is like $4,000, and then I bought a Super Duty axle for the front because I was like, this is $600, and this thing has big brakes. There we go.
Because
There you
we
go.
have
Done.
A lot of free time.
We have it. Yeah,
Well,
excessive amounts
while
of
you're
time.
on that,
Yeah.
my opinion is that you should never use a half-ton truck at its max tow capacity
Oh, no.
on a consistent basis.
No.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
awful.
That's for paperwork, man.
Yeah.
The 12,000-pound tow rating is for paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you should never... If you're going to be anywhere near
Yeah.
that capacity consistently, just buy a 3/4 ton truck.
Well, and a truck is going to last longer towing half its rating than it will towing its
Right.
full rating.
Correct.
It might last, twice as long.
Yeah.
Right.
Which sort of makes sense because it's rated for it. Like the new F-250 has 11.6-inch rear end. So,
Yeah,
obviously,
my buddy has a Silverado, and he consistently tows close to its max rating. And I was in it the other day, and I felt the pinion gear in my seat.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
he's like, "Oh, I've been feeling that for like 3 years. Do you know what that is?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, it's either a super bad carrier bearing that's no longer there, no longer
Yeah.
present,
Yeah.
or it's your pinion bearing." One of
Yeah,
the two.
I'm always surprised when I do gears that I'll have a truck come in with like 100,000 miles on it and there's like 50 thousandths backlash in it.
Yeah.
But it's on the road and it's fine.
Right.
And probably would be. I don't know.
And that's that. I mean, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on that,
Yeah.
but that's why I'm such a Toyota fan, is because they don't, typical components like that don't wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I
Or
mean?
if they do, they still work
Yes.
together.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So go back. So I went off on a
Yeah.
tangent. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
your new build.
Oh, so our new shop truck build, we got a 2020 Tacoma, a wrecked 2-wheel drive one at auction, which is kind of the way to go if you're going to 3-link something. I've actually tried to steer customers away from linking an already 4-wheel drive vehicle because you have to do so many modifications. You need lower transfer case gears at that point and other things that it's almost easier to just run a divorced transfer case that has a drive shaft come from the transmission to the transfer case, which is super easy to do on a 2-wheel drive trans. That's how the Samurai is stock, actually. It's got 3 drive shafts stock. But so our new truck is that. We have a Blueprint Motors LS3. We have a 6L80 built by Monster Trans that should be here today or tomorrow. And we got a custom transfer case from Behemoth Drivetrain. They built us, it's an aluminum case NP205 with a NV271 planetary box in front of it. And the NP205 has 2 rear outputs. So it'll have the normal flange for the 1410.
Right.
And then it has like a 1350 flange as well that we're using as sort of a PTO output, which is going to run to the rear bumper to a companion flange, which is going to bolt to a PTO that will drive our off-road trailer as well. So the off-road trailer is going to have a Sterling 10.5 center section, same as the truck with Dana 60 outer Cs. Radial Dynamics is going to help me hook up a system where it can be steered and has dry brakes and stuff. So the off-road trailer will have articulation, it'll be able to drive, and it'll be able to steer.
Nice. All off the PTO,
Yeah.
off the transmission, transfer case on the truck.
And you're and you're saying you're drug free?
yeah.
This is his drug.
Yeah, this is more expensive than drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know how much I wish I was just on drugs?
So is the purpose of this? Are we going to race this thing? Are you going to put it? Are you going to
race
take
a
it to
trailer?
KOH? No, the truck.
Well,
Are
it's
you
the
taking it
first
to
I've ever
KOH,
heard of
or-
a trailer being driven or driving, really having power at the wheels.
Yeah, it should be interesting, and I'm wondering if I actually have to gear it differently than the truck because I don't want the trailer to overdrive the truck. But also, I'm going to have a couple safeties as well because I feel like if the trailer starts driving at freeway speeds, it'll be an instant accident.
It'll
right
push
away.
you right
I've
into
gone
the car in
through
front of you.
like 3 mental renderings, maybe 4 or 5 mental renderings of the next truck with you.
Yeah.
It was going to be first actually powered by Tesla motors.
Yeah, that was cool. We even went up to LA and we were going to buy a bunch of wrecked Tesla motors and start building rock crawlers out of them. But there's some, the biggest issue with them is the 400 volt system is dangerous. I wanted to race the main race at Hammers. I didn't want to race the EV class. I wanted to race against the big guys. And so my plan was to have the whole subframe, a battery system that gets swapped out at every section. But with 400 volts, even if you've fully drained them, if you accidentally short that, you're dead.
Done, yeah.
Yeah, so
stops your heart.
Yeah, so that was the big thing, and I just didn't think that I was comfortable enough with my engineering
Like a
skills.
giant Milwaukee drill with a swap out battery system,
Exactly.
except for it's 400 volts instead of 18.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. And then they all have to have their own internal cooling and heating system as well, and there are a bunch of other things. And mainly I couldn't figure out how to make the steering work, although Radial Dynamics now makes a 400 volt steering pump. So I don't know. I still might do it. But yeah, it was going to be that, a couple other things. And then, yeah, we just decided that the Tacoma we're going to drive everywhere. It's going to be in shows, but we're still going to drive it around and do big trips. And like our other truck we lived out of for a month. And there's this really awesome route we have from like the north rim of the Grand Canyon to Moab, mostly off-road. That's just like insanely beautiful. We'll take it on that. And yeah, we're planning to bring it everywhere.
We're going to overland with
Is
it.
your hope that it'll have? Well, it's my hope.
Yeah.
You're going to, because typically after every trip you come back from, the truck goes back in for the knife.
Yeah.
You're going to try to
remodified.
Oh no, this thing, I'm not cutting a single corner building it. So it's the frame is
Well,
all.
I don't think you ever cut a corner. I just think
Yeah.
on your trips, your
Just
mind
hate
just
stuff,
goes wild.
Yeah,
Like
I need to fix this and this
Yeah.
and this and make this better.
or
for
hey,
the next
look,
trip.
my M&Ms are in this cubby hole, and it would have been so much easier
If
to
they
get
were
them
over
out of this
here,
cubby
yeah,
hole.
Yeah, no, I like the frame is gonna be all 2-inch quarter wall 4130. I'm not gonna MIG weld a single part on the whole truck.
All TIG.
Yeah, and it's all going to be purpose built.
Is Nick ready?
Yeah, Nick's going to be busy.
Yeah.
better get him some Red Bull or something.
He has cases of Red Bull in the shop at all times. We stock it up. He's got that. He's got snacks. We try and take care of him because we really appreciate him being on the team. But yeah, I think it'll be a compelling build too. And also the Super Duty 60s are fantastic because if you grind down the steering stops a little bit and put a larger U-joint in, you can get 50 degrees of steering out of them. So you can also display it at shows with the truck fully flexed out, 50 degrees of steering, the trailer fully flexed out, 50 degrees of steering the other way. And it's a big eye catcher, which is, like, to be totally honest, great for our business.
Yeah, plus it's the whole idea is to bring
and hopefully
business.
it has BILSTEINs on it, so it'll be great for ours too.
Yeah, you didn't mention what shocks you were going to have on it. Yeah, we heard about everything but the shocks. So.
Oh, yeah.
5100s, right?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about modifying the 70 mil Blackhawks to work in the front.
Bingo.
Yeah, there you go.
We could also
Bingo.
just put a performance shell on it and not even.
Yeah.
You
Or a
could
camper
just
shell.
take the two-wheel drive taco,
Yeah.
put the performance shell on it, and call it good.
So
Bring it out.
solid axle, big axles with all aluminum Blackhawk.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that would be really cool. And it'd be like...
Isn't it sand colored, the truck?
Yeah, it's tan. I
Are
don't
you
know
gonna
if we'll
keep it
keep
that?
it.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it before the exo cage goes on finally. But then the problem with wraps is like I'd drive into trees. So...
You don't say.
It just peels them off.
Sometimes accidentally.
Even those heavy-duty off-road
usually
wraps
on
don't
purpose,
stand a chance.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We might... Yeah.
Those
So-
Ocotillo bushes have some big
That
thorns.
sounds fun, and I'm happy that we may be a part of that.
Yeah.
Now on another token, we've managed to get Ian on here shortly after this very controversial Watts link set up on the Nissan.
Oh, yeah.
You've got that thing driving, I see.
Yeah.
Yep.
It works great. Yeah, it's kind of funny that it's...
What's funny is when you first put that on, how everyone in the comments said, "You're an idiot. It's never going to work."
And now no one says anything, which is
talking.
weird.
It must be
I don't
working
know.
pretty good.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Crazy how that happens.
Yeah,
Like keyboard
it's wild.
engineers.
Yeah, that video, that was a bit much. I almost deleted my Instagram after that. It got 18 million views, which is just too many people.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it makes my hands sweaty to think about that many people, I don't like it.
And 17.5 million had a comment on how it wasn't going to work.
I honestly didn't read the comments. I have a rule in my life that I don't take criticism from people I don't go to for advice.
Right.
So people can say whatever they want, and I just don't care. But meanwhile, personal people, even like my machinist was working for Robbie Gordon at the time, and he showed him the design, and he was like, "Yeah, that'll be sick."
So
And that's all they say is And he was like, "Oh, is your safety factor good?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's 3-1." He's like, "Should be awesome.
Yeah.
should be
Let's
rad."
do it.
And it's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works great. I'm
Right.
super pumped on it. The rear end feels great on it.
So this is all stuff that's on your Instagram page, so folks can take a look at the video.
And
Yeah.
it's not running our shocks, which we have no care in the
Hey,
world
we like
about.
trucks without our shocks on.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah,
wrong
and
with
it's
Yeah.
mainly
Well,
because you
but-
guys don't make an internal bypass universal coilover product. If you
Right.
did, obviously, I'd prefer to run that. That's why I'm hoping to run the Blackhawk Zone Control 70 mils in the front, because it is very hard to package a coilover and bypass in the front of a
Right,
solid
right.
axle on a truck with a frame.
Right.
You're just so limited on space, even
And
though I'm
we're-
pushing the motor back a foot.
And obviously, we have that 70 mil technology. So
Yeah.
eventually, Shane and I, Mike, we've all been talking about how we're going to get that into the universal. Because think about this, Ian. Think about an 8-inch travel zone control 70 mil shock on a bolt-on Chaos cambered
Yeah.
kit.
Yeah. And
It's
just
everything
remember
you need.
that the
It's everything
70
you need.
millimeter tube is aluminum now. It's
Yeah.
not steel. So.
It's everything you need. No bypass anymore. No external bump stop. Nothing.
Yep.
You bolt
No
this
limit
on.
strap.
No
Yep.
limit strap because
Yep.
the RCO.
Yeah,
it's
I
everything
know.
you need. Here you
Yeah,
go.
it's actually there's a lot of value in it too. It's as
Tons.
compared to buying the air bump, bypass, coilover, limit straps,
And then having to tune it all to work together.
and mainly packaging the coilover and bypass. I see a lot of builders that either limit their travel significantly, so they'll say like, "Oh, it has 14 inches of travel, but it's strapped at 10," or they limit the steering angle that it can
Right.
achieve. Because if you just look at them on a full frame truck, there's just no spot to fit.
There's
two
not enough
dampers.
room, yeah.
I mean, look at all the modifying you just did on that Tundra on 40s to get the 3.0 bypass to get in there.
yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
supposed to be engineered to be on there.
Yeah, the biggest issue with that is that it was a 2.5-inch coilover, but it ran a 3.75 ID spring on it. which I believe is because the block height is a little better. But yeah, it hit the steering.
Start moving stuff around.
It limited quite a bit of the steering, and it was like wearing through the coil when you would steer. It's like I don't understand because it's for this truck. But so I swapped it back to a standard spring, and I had to limit like an inch of travel for the block height concern.
And didn't you have to move some mount for the bypass or something?
Yeah, I had to move the bypass mount and hit the upper control arm on both sides.
Was that fixing somebody's?
No, that was a kit that
was supposed to bolt on.
It was fixing someone else's kit. Yeah,
but to be fair,
so it was fixing somebody.
Someone else's bad engineering.
But to be fair, that guy may have willed that thing where the frame's no longer square or.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something could be the issue and not necessarily the manufacturer of the kit. Maybe a small part is that, but a large part, it's just like building a TJ with a long arm kit. Like you know how many I've done where you can't get them to line up? Next thing you know, you have basically, I've done what you did to the Samurai top on a tree to lower links on a TJ to try to get them to bolt from the axle to the frame mount.
Yeah.
Because the whole chassis has just been so twisted up that it's, by the way, that was like genius engineering.
Yeah, we're pretty much a body shop now.
So you basically you put like a come along from a tree to basically the whole body of the Samurai and just started backing it up.
Part.
Yeah.
The Samurai is so small, we just ratchet strap.
You can lift it with the ratchet. That ratchet strap's rated for 3,000 pounds, and the Samurai weighs 2,100 pounds. So it's almost pointless to have a winch on it.
You just need a big enough tree.
Because if you have a ratchet strap, it's just as good. It's actually, it has a 50% safety factor on it even. It's oversized. You can use a smaller ratchet strap.
So was that done at the Rubicon on the last trip that the doors wouldn't shut, or was that?
Yeah.
That was the first time taking the doors off and wheeling with it.
Which is
fun.
fun.
We were super stoked. I really liked it. And then we came back, put it on the trailer, grab the doors, try to put it on, and they won't close.
The door opening is 2 inches smaller than it was.
That just reiterates what I said about things that get out there and get twisted up and they don't come back.
Yeah, like my buddy David, who owns Bent Motorsports, he started off originally making Razor cages, and he bought a stock frame from Razor, from Polaris, to design his cage around. And he said every single kit he sold, someone said, oh, it doesn't line up. It's because they've already rolled their Razor once, which is why they're buying a cage. And he eventually just stopped doing it because he's like, I have a factory like frame here that it hasn't even had something bolted to it. It's completely within tolerance. So
but nothing else is.
You'd almost have to make that cage like slightly adjustable to compensate for all the bent pieces on the car that you're fitting it to.
Yeah, which also like you can assume that with most tube work. Like I have a ratchet strap or something trying to close up a gap or.
So when we used to
heating metal changes the dimensions of it. So
remember Rustin's old extreme long arm kit for the TJ?
Yeah.
The problem is you'd have guys that just followed the instructions off a brand new TJ. And just started drilling the holes for the belly pan and that subframe that holds all the lower links. Right? They started drilling. And then they'd get the belly pan up there and realize that, oh, shoot, that doesn't line up with the holes I drilled, but I followed the instructions perfectly. It's just because the frame's twisted. So every time I did them, after the first time that happened to me, put it up there and I drill the holes. Put it in place. I would just tack weld the whole belly pan into place, and I would drill it with the pan on there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the best way to do it.
There's no other way to do it from the line up.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Oh, and our shop truck's probably going to have a Watts link, too. I have one more of those bearing assemblies, so I was like, why not?
Oh, you got 2 of those pivots made.
Yeah, well, I have like the center part of the pivot. It's a 5,000-pound trailer axle that is designed to be in dual shear. So it has that top plate on it.
So I got a question. Now that this has been out and you've driven it down blow sands, how many inquiries have you had? Like, I want to do this to my truck. How much is it going to cost?
A couple. I keep telling them not to.
Because the second question is, how much is it going to cost? And you're like, you do not have enough money for this.
I've had this conversation with Ian multiple times, and till I'm blue in the face, like, stop quoting jobs because you're undercutting yourself on everyone.
Yeah.
Just tell them time and materials.
And every great fabricator ends up closing their door for the final time because in your mind, in my mind, when I used to do this stuff, is I know what time it's going to take to do this. Without thinking of how many issues I'm going to run into before completion. My mind is only telling me, hey, it's going to take an hour to weld these sliders on there.
Yeah.
But when the sliders don't line up,
That's another 2 hours.
you're 3 hours into,
Yep.
like even a brake job. You know how many caliper bolts I've broke on brakes? That's why I just bring them to you. So you
So you can waste the extra 2 hours.
That's
digging
funny.
the
I
bolts
just
out.
stripped
Yeah.
the caliper yesterday on the truck. I was on the rack. I was swapping new rotors on, and I was like, "This is our only vehicle right now."
but just it's crazy because just a brake job can turn into 8 hours of work.
Anything that
Absolutely.
you put a wrench on, and if you're a plumber, you've probably had that. Don't touch that faucet with that wrench because it will break and there'll be water spewing out of it, and you're never going to get it fixed. So
it is hard to. It's so much what I do is custom one-offs too.
Right.
Like if you come to me with a 2012 Nissan Frontier and you're like, I want a 3-link and a Watts link rear and a flatbed and blah blah blah. How many hours will that take? I'm like,
can you give me a month to
could be
figure that out?
1,000. I don't know. It could be
Right.
thousands.
It's just impossible to
Yeah,
quote. At
it
that
is.
point, your work speaks for itself. So the guy's basically dropping off the keys and saying, call me when it's done and I'll have my checkbook ready.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the kind of clients you need to have.
Yeah.
That just want the job done. If like literally, I hate to be this guy, but if they're asking you how much it's going to cost, they can't afford it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's true.
Because custom fabrication, there's good welders out there that charge by the inch.
Yeah.
Especially TIG welders. Like their charge is by the inch. It's not even by the job. It's like, oh, you have 56 inches of TIG welding you need done. It's going to be $433.12 per inch.
Yeah.
Or you can do it yourself.
I
Right.
used to do some industrial MIG welding too, and that's how I would quote jobs.
Yeah.
On job sites to be like, oh, you need 37 I-beams welded together. It's whatever, 36 inches of weld per side. I'd add it up, and then I had a formula that would spit it out.
Yeah, just eliminates all the guesswork and usually keeps you safe on what would be your margin at that point, how much you get to take home at the end of the day.
I mean, fortunately, we've kind of set our business up to, we have our online store and we sell products. So we can be a little more choosy with our customers and work on things that we want to work on.
Right.
Which is nice.
And we have like a majority of our customers are also our friends, I would say. Probably 90% of them are like close personal friends. Like the guy I'm building the Nissan for, he joined us on the Rubicon and hung out. We've like hung out with his family at King of the Hammers. So it's cool. It's like we have our own little community.
Coolish.
Yeah.
Coolish. From a business standpoint, not so cool.
Yeah.
because he's a friend, so you're going to give him a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the way you grow your business, right?
Right.
But like, to be honest, let's be honest. If someone's paying you for your time to do a job like that, it would be tons and tons of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you
it'd
get,
probably be
you get to
$100,000
do
in
what you
labor.
like.
You're
So-
you're $100,000 in labor to do something like this, and when you got guys like my buddy Nick Eisenhower, bro dozers, that are commenting on your page that's cool.
Yeah.
Like Nick Eisenhower, that family's been in the racing scene for a long, long time.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, Bill Eisenhower. I used to sell his dad parts, and I remember when Nick started working at ORW, he was actually a chubby high school kid.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, great dude.
Dang. He
Great-
just
great
quit,
family.
what, 6 months ago? And he started his own thing?
Well, yeah, he's doing full like race
Or-
prep. And
yeah, like a
fabrication
year
now.
ago.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that. I
But
was
to have
super
a
pumped.
fabricator of that caliber and a guy that races
Yeah.
to comment that, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That means it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like doing different stuff.
You
I
know
just
what I
get
mean?
bored. I've done so many of the same exact 3-link. And like, oh, you're doing Chevy 63s and we're going to add in another Leaf and then run 275, 78 on it. And I'll overpressurize it a little bit. That's, yeah, very different. Or, most of my builds have pretty much similar front end geometry too. Because I have a specific way that I like it set up with the anti-dive curve on bump and droop in 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, which are different. Yeah, and I just build them all the same way. I have a set valving for the 8125s.
You have a blueprint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it. I just plug that in. So it gets boring. We like
And that's what the shop projects are
yeah,
for. Yeah,
all three of us, we have to do different things all the time and be stimulated.
Right.
And like I've forced myself to learn everything. Like I don't learn anything the easy way. I learned CAD on YouTube. I learned how to TIG weld partially on YouTube, and then my buddy Nick taught me too. So yeah,
they say the best way to learn is by breaking stuff.
So being dealers, being that you have a retail online store, you work directly with customers. Have you noticed any changes in doing business pre versus post COVID? Like, and I mean this not necessarily from a customer base. I mean, customers have gotten pretty righteous over the years. I think a little like wanting info that doesn't make any sense. Like I need to know what the damping is at 0.85 millimeters per second. Like the stuff that's not going to help them in their journey. I feel like everyone's become like YouTube engineers and they want useless data. Have you guys seen a difference in the customer and as well as the people you buy from, the people like your wholesaler, like whether it's us, whether it's King, whether it's Poly Performance, or like, have you seen a difference in business operation pre and post COVID?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think huge.
During COVID, it definitely picked up.
Right.
Which was unusual because a lot of people were experiencing different things. And then even, I don't know, this year, it seems like it's been doing really well too.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like really worrying about this possible, economic breakdown or whatever that's going to happen. But I haven't really seen
I think
a lot of change.
We've been growing by about like 50% every year since COVID. So it's been good. This August is a slow time for everyone. So this month isn't great, but it's the customers. I feel like the attitudes have shifted a little bit, and I'm not really sure what to attribute it to, but I don't know what a nice word for it is.
Is there a nice word?
Is there a nice word? But yeah, I think people have like a more adversarial tone sometimes when they don't realize that like I am on their side.
Right.
Like I'm there for them.
Yeah.
Like
we
you
experience the same thing. It's
I'm happy to help. Like it's this morning I shipped a guy, he was rebuilding 7100s. He's in the middle of Alaska, an Army guy. Snapped the Schrader valve off because he didn't have the little end Schrader valve puller on all the way. And I was like, okay, I'll ship you one. I shipped him one within 8 hours of his email about it.
Right.
Because I just have them. I didn't charge him anything. So I'm here to help people. So
I think as businesses and customers, we're all experiencing a kind of a major shift on a global level of how business operates. And as a we're all customers. We all buy something at some point from someone else. And I think we're all that way, maybe a little bit more. We scrutinize things a little bit more because, well, things cost more. We scrutinize the time to get it. And these are all things that we deal with as a business as well. BILSTEIN deals with this coming from our customers is, okay, well, everything costs more or it takes longer to get. So I think that's kind of universal.
Yeah, they expect Amazon. I feel like, Jeff Bezos, I use Amazon all the time.
Right.
But then customers expect us to be
that
able to
kind
keep
of
up
service,
with that, which obviously we can't. We try, though. You're shipping stuff out 4 days a week at least.
Yeah,
that's great.
4 or 5 days. And we have UPS pickup.
Boy,
at
that's
our
major
shop
for
3
the
days a
Julian
week.
post office there, the 1.5 people that work there.
Try to keep them happy.
That's pretty good.
They keep us alive.
Oh, yeah. Them and our UPS driver, he calls me.
Did you have to build him a special truck to get up your driveway yet, or
they did give him a better truck? Actually, he has a e-locker in the rear now.
Oh, nice!
They don't have 4-wheel drive versions, and they put mud tires on it for him. He requested them, and they gave him one fan
to Cuyamaca too. It gets gnarly. He rallies though.
Yeah, he's made it up in the snow.
I think
sometimes.
That's the same driver that comes over to our place, and I see him rallying around. The truck's covered in mud.
Oh yeah,
he has to. Yeah,
and he keeps the whole community alive pretty much too, because otherwise we're driving into the city anytime we need anything.
Right.
which is rough.
You know what I find? I find that social media, we're in a very weird time in society where everyone relies on social media for their information, or a podcast for their information, so I feel that even 15 years ago, that guys like us were trusted more to know what we're talking about. But I think people feel like they're jumped on a YouTube video, or they jumped on a video on Instagram. So they're professionals about a topic that they're coming to you to reiterate, right? So I find that it's really tough to combat that. So the he said, she said type deal. But,
right, credibility.
Right. Like before, when I was in your shoes and someone would hand me the keys to their car, they trusted everything I said.
Yeah, it's
right?
true.
And it's like today there's so many avenues to get information on that people pick every one of those avenues. They get mixed messages and they pick out just what they want to know, what they want to hear. And then they go off that. And then I feel like sometimes we're like, even buddies of mine from back in the day, they're saying, hey man, I just picked up this car. What should I do to it? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. But I want to do this, but I want to do that. Just do this. Hey, but I was just watching a video.
Yeah.
And it said that this is probably my best bet. Why are you calling me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's so much uncertainty, I feel, with consumers these days, and they and fair enough, because they're just pulling their money out of their pockets. But it's I feel like it's so much harder for guys in business like yourself today to be able to capture a customer, because they feel like they have so much insight on what they want to do, but in reality don't know anything about what they want to do.
Yeah, and the issue with like YouTube and even especially the forums, I ran into this a lot with like link suspension geometry. Like everyone's been using this triage 3-link calculator for the whole time, but it was designed for drag racing, so it assumes 100% drive bias. So if you're designing your numbers around 100% drive bias to your front wheels, it means nothing.
Right.
And so there's 20 years of people talking about link suspension geometry numbers that's all useless.
Right.
And means nothing now. And any opinion that you have, you can go on the internet and find proof for it.
Right.
So whatever people think about suspension or truck building or anything, they can find some video where someone says this is the best way to do it. And like, yeah, I tell people when things are my opinions versus when they're things that I like know is a fact because I've done it and seen it.
And the word you just said, opinion. Like we have so many like people that want to do something, whether it's to their vehicle, to their home. Like that's another thing during COVID. Everyone became a painter and a remodeler and a contractor. You know, they got out the sponges and started doing the funny things with their walls, and then they started doing the cabinet or their countertops to make them look like marble with silly putty and paint. Like, but what you said by opinion is that's the exact fact of the matter. Is most of these guys get 10 opinions and then want to come to a professional to get facts.
Right.
But then your facts become just the 11th opinion.
Right.
Yeah, and that's also, it's partially why like I see stuff that's messed up on the internet all the time, and I don't say anything about it. Because enough people pay for my opinion that like I actually don't have a lot of free time, so I just don't feel the need to give it out for free. People they'll call me and ask.
A good example of that is like we just recently had a little fire here in our local community, right? And everybody's looking for information. Where do I go? Where's the fire going? How big is it? Where's it at? You go to the company that's putting the fire out's website, which happens to be CAL FIRE, and there's no information. But you go to Instagram or Facebook, and there's a crap ton of information. So it's like, I want to go to the source, the guy who's standing there with the hose dumping water on it, but he hasn't got time to put
to update,
to give any information in. And so they're like, well, look to our Facebook page or Instagram to get updates. Well, what happens to a guy like me that doesn't really do all that stuff? Do I just die? Do I get burned up in the fire? It's all of our information passes through those portals now, and if you don't do it, it seems like you're an outcast.
Yeah.
And then there's people who take it the other direction, where the only information they get comes from there, and it's not all facts or truth. So
like I said,
it can be scary.
I don't comment much because I shouldn't. But I did one time.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have.
That was the last thing you ever did.
But it's like this guy was in a YouTube video or a real video or whatever the video. And he was talking about his Tacoma. I guess he went from road racing to Tacomas, and he talking about how to clear 33s. He's like, if your 33s are rubbing, put a control arm on and your rub will go away. And then so
What?
Right. So all these people started commenting like, perfect, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
I'm on my
And
way to buy
just,
some.
I just went on there and I said, please re-comment after you put those control arms on and let me know if the rub went away. I said, because adding caster with an upper arm is going to make your rubbing worse.
Yeah.
And then all these people started chiming in, yeah, I put the arm on it and now that thing's rubbing, what should I do? So I just had to delete my post because people now were in my inbox asking how to correct it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it just goes to show you this guy put out false information.
Right.
The best way not to have it rub on your body mount is to keep the stock arm.
Yeah.
Get more negative caster
Yeah.
if you want it not to rub. But this guy's saying put an arm on it and the rub will go away. And then just thousands of people are out buying control arms.
Yeah.
It's just so much false information
Yeah, it's
out
credibility.
there, you know?
Yeah.
It's also been a good thing for us too, though, because there are pages that I go on to be inspired to build things, and there are also like people who I really trust in the industry, even some other like quote unquote competitors to me. But I kind of feel like we're all on the same team. I don't really see it like that because I also sell shocks to other companies that also sell shocks, and I'll subcontract like tuning jobs for companies that want to come out with a kit, and then they ask me to tune it, and I can't post about it, but I'm happy to work with them. And it's cool. There's like some builders out there, like Nick Eisenhower, or I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, but like Willamette Motor and Fab, and a bunch of my other friends, Reckless Wrench, and I go on their pages and I'm like pumped to see what they're doing.
Yep.
And everything's so cool. And I have like my phone, I have like 3,000 screenshots of other people's work. Morgan Clark Design, he's another one. He kind of inspired our LS3 Tacoma build. So there are also like
positives.
subject matter experts
Yeah.
who are legitimately putting out good
Yeah,
stuff.
it has to be vetted,
And,
though. You know, and I think a wise person can decipher an expert versus someone who, like Junior said, just got the COVID bug and sat home and started welding parts on their truck.
Right. I think that's with anything, though. Like even where you get your news these days, and if you want to be updated on politics or whatever's going on in the world, you have to be
Vet
able
everything.
to sift through all
Figure
the
out what's
information.
fact and
It's
what's
just
not.
it's a different world now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just part of it.
So being as successful as you are, weird.
It's weird.
Being as successful as you are, how has the industry treated you, and how have they? Off-road industry is a very tight-knit community.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's a
it can
clique.
go sideways. Sometimes it goes the exact way you want it.
Right.
Have you found it? And this is the last before we go to lunch because I'm getting hungry. Have you been able to like build relationships that have made this successful for you? Like I mean, I know it's hard because I did what you've done, and it's not the easiest thing to do, right? You're buying from this person, or you're buying from this person, or you're buying from this person, and this person, I know if I email him, I'm going to get 48 hours lead time before I get an answer back. Like, how has dealing with the off-road community been? How would you attribute the off-road community as far as like manufacturing and wholesalers to your success?
What do you think?
I mean, I think we're trying to really focus on building up the online store because obviously that's a lot easier to maintain from wherever we want to go. If we want to take our project vehicles on the road, the online store can still be making us money. So it's a big part in dealing with the wholesalers and all of
relationships,
that. Yeah, and maintaining those relationships. Sometimes, like you said, people are easier to work with than others, and we can build relationships really easily with some people, and other people we're just another number in their big customer base. So it's, I don't know. I feel like we've grown a lot since we started, and part of that helps with our name and credibility. And so I don't know.
It helps that a lot of these people, like, they're our friends, like Poly Performance.
Yeah.
We're friends with them. We've like stayed at their house before and stuff. And we do have a relationship with almost all of our wholesalers, or I know someone personally there, or they've been following us for years. Which is really cool, and it's better because then you can kind of put a face to the name, and it's
I think that makes a better business. I mean, I've been with this company for 20 years, and the people that we've always taken the time to meet face to face, and hey, it's a 5-hour drive to visit so and so, but let's go do that. I mean, I think those relationships are more valuable in the end, and even if you're not making a ton of money off of these accounts, it's still a value to have that person or their little niche market, or just be, friends with that person in the market and get their, like you said, their feedback or their take on certain projects. It's almost invaluable to have those relationships.
Yeah, and a lot of my friends, it's funny you call us successful. There's so much credit card debt, but
that's what they're for. I mean, they're no good unless they're maxed out.
So many of our friends have like giant shops with like 20 employees now and stuff, and like I am not jealous at all because it kind of looks awful, but also I'm pumped that they're doing good. And then like I'm so happy to support other people in the industry, and then they in turn support us back. Like I think there's this old idea that everyone is competing against each other, but actually like I'm trying to just bring everyone up together and trying to be kind to all those people.
Yeah, I found
as much as I can.
I found that my life really changed when I was able to actually be excited and feel happy for someone, rather than come from a place of like envy or, oh, I wish I had 20 employees, or I wish I had 20 shop trucks, or I wish I had this. It changes your whole direction of thought and how
it's
much.
So much better.
Oh, it's so much better.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
When I first got out of the Army, I was pretty like, I was just mad at the world, and anybody who did anything, I was like, that's dumb. Why would they do that? And I was so negative about everything. And I think I've just had to completely shift my mindset over the years, which has helped a lot.
Yeah. And if you're building each other up, you're elevating like the whole industry, because that's where, relationships form, you can network, innovation happens, like, you can elevate everything, including educating your customers.
Yeah. It kind of all feeds off of, it all feeds off of everyone else, and everyone else's success can feed into your success, because a lot of the times if you're working with companies that are coming up or come out with new ideas, simply being linked in with them, you're automatically going to catch some of that overflow and grow. Not to mention that you're very innovative to start with, so that's
so clearly you just basically said your wife is the reason why you're so successful, because she got you out of that negative state, and she.
Did he say that? I think that's what happened, but I don't think.
Well, I saw the eye contact. I saw the eye contact. I saw the eye contact.
That is the truth. Yeah, and Brittany's the one who forced me essentially to get a shop in the first place. Yeah, because I was pre-med before that, and the big issue is like I can't sit in the chairs at college because I end up with such bad nerve pain in my legs. So I had 4.0, and I've always been really good at school, but I just couldn't do it. It was like wrecking me. So being able to set my own schedule, if my back is jacked up, I can take a couple days off.
Live in Julian, play in the snow.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. There's trees. I think it's been a lot better.
Yeah. Blow Sands is right down the hill.
Yeah, 20 minutes from the desert.
Yeah, we're 32 minutes from the desert. So this winter we'll be doing shock tuning sessions probably 2 Saturdays a month.
Nice.
Well, before we end it, why don't you tell everyone how to get a hold of you if they need you? You
can always email us at either wheeleveryweekend@gmail.com or shockdoc, SHOCKDOC. I was a senior line medic with the light infantry company, so
you truly are a doc.
Yeah, that's where the doc comes from. At wheeleveryweekend.com. And
check out our website, wheeleveryweekend.com, Instagram, YouTube.
Look for you guys at shows out in the desert.
Yep.
Yeah, we're at a lot of the shows too. Like this year at Hammers, I think there were like 7 or 8 trucks that I tuned sitting
Very nice.
out there, which is cool.
Very nice.
The Samurai I tuned had the fastest average in the desert section.
Guess
Of all
how
the
fast.
Samurais. Yeah,
So it
guess
got
how
to like,
fast.
It got to like 37
That's
miles
fast
per
for
hour.
a
was
vehicle that weighs
36.
1,000 pounds. Yeah.
That's
He
cool.
told me that, and I was like, maybe just don't say the second part.
Yeah.
Just say you were the fastest, but don't tell everyone the speed.
Ian, Brittany, thanks for coming. If you
Thank
guys have
you.
any Bilstein questions, just email Will every weekend at gmail.com.
And I'll email Junior.
Thanks for joining us, man. You're our first guest, and I'm certain that it won't be the last time we'll be chatting with you guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate all you guys. I know, Shane, you've helped me out through emails, and Mike, of course, you help us out constantly.
Yep.
Junior, you've been doing it for years. Everybody in this room has been just like extremely positive and like a huge impact on us personally. So
Yeah.
just want to say we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
You
today.
don't have to start lying now. Thanks again, guys.
Yep.
Okay.